Okay, so I just transitioned us live, and we're now watching some other random. How do we fix this?
You wait, because you want to buy the all-new Civic from Honda. It's obviously a fantastic car. I don't know.
But how do you go back?
I don't know. I'm
wait,
getting
wait. Are we watching another commercial?
This is the same one. It's not a commercial. It's a.
It's a minute 30 commercial, bro.
It's a video.
It's a animation.
Blender Animation Studio. What? What did you do, Dom?
I don't know. I don't know.
5 seconds into stream, whenever Dom's not running it.
I did it.
Okay,
he did it. I'm sorry. So, welcome, ladies and gents, if you're joining us now on this stream. I should introduce myself. I'm RandomMinionCaster. I'm a League of Legends color caster, and I brought on 2 guests with me today. One of whom is a fellow co-caster, and the other is a producer. Normally runs streams and
quote unquote producer.
True, quote unquote producer. So we've got D0Mcasts joining us here, and Orbital. Would you guys like to introduce yourself? Let's start with Dom. Dom?
Oh, you should start with me. I was like,
so Dom's never actually cast before, so he's like, how do I do this intro thing?
Yeah, what the fuck's an intro? Oh wait. Alright, I didn't know if we're christening, but
I don't care.
Yeah, no, I'm a quote unquote producer, former worse than RandomMinionCaster and Orbital caster. But yeah.
Yo, why are you're supposed to be better than us, bro? That's why I brought you on to VOD review us. Okay, and the other bad caster, apparently, according to Dom. Orbital, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Orbital. I'm the other guy in the video.
Oh, man. Oops, my bad. Okay, yes. Yes, that is Orbital, the other guy in the video.
I actually thought about that one for like a good 30 seconds. That was my intro.
Oh, no. Dom, what are you... Okay.
No, what are you doing? Stop pressing buttons, please.
Okay. So... to give Orbital a better intro, this guy casts like anything, basically. He will literally cast anything if you ask him to. So he casts League of Legends with me as a play-by-play here, and we're actually going to VOD review our last cast together here, which was the Unified Advanced League Finals. And it's all of us involved in this. Dom was our producer for this as well, but Dom does have some experience casting, so I'm expecting some good feedback here from you as well, Andy.
As long as we get past the commercials.
Yeah. Okay, let's
Pixar short.
When did that come on YouTube, man? What the heck?
Okay. Perfect.
Right.
This is the start right here.
Whoops. Yeah.
To end it all, we have
Oh man, I hate my voice so much. I feel bad for anyone that actually listens to me.
mAAdcity bringing 2 teams into the playoff finals here.
Bro, I have to listen to you twice, the first time and this.
I know, right? It's terrible. I don't know how you put up with me, man.
No, man, it's all good. Still better than myself.
Best of 5 action.
You know what? We wouldn't be casters if people didn't like our voice. Like that's like the solace I take in all of this.
I don't know about that. I think people just put up with us. Okay.
That's true. And why is my head tilted?
You always have it like tilted a little bit.
I know, it's so bad. Like I'm gonna have to take like a book and go back to elementary school days. This VOD review is already terrible. I'm not even reviewing my casting. I'm reviewing my fucking stance.
I mean, is there a better way?
Well, I do think that is something, you know, that is worth looking at as casters. We don't think too much about it, but nowadays all the casters use cams, right? So it does matter. Like the way I keep not looking at the camera is a bit of an issue too.
That still comes with a lot of bragging right? You get
that is something that I think every caster should work on. Is just realizing that you don't look at the OBS or anywhere else, right? Unless your camera's literally in front of your screen, like in the dead center, there's no reason you should have to worry about that, right? Like there's no reason you shouldn't be looking there.
Oh man. You trolled me, Orbital. You're supposed to keep a straight face there.
Never. I break character when I feel I should break character. It is the most beautiful. What I've received.
Wow, my cam is really shaky.
It's I think you're either knocking into your desk or something like that.
Yeah, I am.
I think that's natural, though. I think that's something that happens often. We just have to be aware of it, right? So
Yeah, because well, I use push to talk as well, so.
Right. I feel like is there? I wonder if you could almost get like a foot pedal for that, right? Because I remember some people talking about it in the past about their it was about their mic when they're streaming, I think, to link not to their Discord mute, but to their actual computer mute or something like that, and like quiet Discord or something or the other. They use a foot pedal because it's just easier.
I think it's going to be
Yeah.
a grand old
Might
surprise.
look into that.
Some of the champions that we hopefully will get
Is
to
Dom
see.
asleep?
Obviously, not action. No one wants to see that champion.
He's probably distracted
Me?
by Legends of Runeterra.
Oh no. Dom's there. Okay. Dom's alive.
Let's talk about some of the champions that we may or may
Back
not
on my
see. 'Cause I know
Runeterra
the teams
grind.
we're talking about
Oh my God, you're supposed to be helping us right now.
probably not going to be seen here.
I mean,
I hate you so much.
I will say, I do think we're doing a good, like, I like that we came into this, we start setting up the stakes and the narratives right away, touched a bit on the history, and then now we're going into, like, the actual match or game information, like, you know, like what we're expecting to see in picks and bans, and maybe, like, what we're expecting to see from players.
Yeah. I think it's also something to be said. I've always felt it's the job of the play-by-play to write the chapter titles, and then the colorcaster fills it in, right? Like if I feed you the right questions, we build that narrative in a perfectly understandable way, right? So how we write that narrative also influences how people. So if you just throw random facts and it doesn't link together, you have a really bad intro.
We are going to get OGs
is the best way to put it,
starting
right?
on that
Either
blue side
you
of the
go
Wildcard on the red.
like one of the things that I always talk about is you go from big to
these
small
teams, I
in
think both
terms
have
of
shown
information
exceptional
drops.
prowess, whether they get the
So
winner pick or
big
they
would be
get that
talking
first
about
pick.
the
So many
overall
champions
tournament. You
are
know, how did the
available
teams
to
get
them.
here? What do they do?
And
Then you
I'm
get
just-
smaller and smaller
I'm-
as you go. Well, now
You
it's
mentioned
two
all these
teams
good
that play
points,
on the
and we
same
finally
same
get to see
board,
in
right?
action, so we'll go ahead,
This is
hop
their
into
last
that
chance to play
champion
against each
select.
other, and then
First
finally get
ban
down maybe
thoughts.
to the very
The ideas
bottom,
are
which
there,
is
but the Zin's out, of course,
players,
will
right?
always
Maybe
remain
player
on the table.
matchups that we want to talk about, or champion matchups. So it's all about the story writing and how do you link it together to make it make sense.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And working with you, definitely, that is one of your strengths that I notice. Like, a lot of times I can sort of tune out a little bit in terms of the flow of things, right? And just kind of let you take control of that and then just sort of answer your questions or where you're leading. Whereas other times, like with some other casters, I have to take a bit more like of a lead, and I don't think I'm quite as good at it.
Even before it was cool to play Graves.
It just feels awkward.
Yeah, we don't
I
get to see
always
what the
think,
cool
right?
kid can do.
It
Instead,
feels
we get even more
awkward
dance
if
thrown
you
at some of those
are
poke champions, the Varus and
if the
Zig,
colorcaster has
both
to lead the
ban away.
conversation,
Of
because
course,
it's
Zig, I
like
feel, is the staple
it's like the
side
horse
player.
is behind
At this point,
the
you don't have the
cowboy,
answer,
right? But the
You
horse
give
is
it over. It
constantly
has
throwing
to be removed.
Yeah, almost more
what I don't know, throwing freaking food in front of the cowboy to tell him where to go, or you know, whatever you want to say.
I don't know where this metaphor's
I
going.
don't know either. I had the metaphor in my head, and then it just like
Art in front of the horse.
Yes,
there you
that
go.
makes
there
sense.
you go. There you go. I don't know. All I know is it unless it's done between an exceptional duo or anything like that, like duos that have worked together really well. In League of Legends specifically, or any MOBAs, it should generally be in these scenarios. It should be the play-by-play feeding the questions and making sure they know how to direct the narrative. But it's the colorcaster's job to actually bring that to life. Like, why does it matter so much? Why did we point out the tournament? Why did we point out that it's sister teams? Why did we point out these two players? Right? Like, the color makes it impactful. We bring the point, but the colorcaster actually brings our point to freaking life. So I feel bad for any colorcaster that actually has to lead the play-by-play. I don't know why. To me, it just sounds weird.
Kind of. I mean, I wouldn't say that feels sad. It happens quite maybe it's just me, but I find that I have to do it quite a bit, especially in game. Maybe not before. That said, one thing I did like actually
that was immediate too. There was no hesitation
was that
and
when the picks and bans started, like we were fast to transition to the picks and bans. Sometimes like when we cast, I feel like we're still talking about narrative and setup, and then the picks and bans we end up missing a lot of the individual picks.
feels like it might not be so
Yes,
impactful,
yes, we
especially when you
do.
think about the LeBlanc and Diego both can kind of
That's something
diverge
that I've also
around that
tried
wall.
to queue
How
out
well
of a
do you
lot
think
of the
this ball is
time.
actually going to
Wrap up the point, make sure we're not asking too many questions, right? It's hard for me, I guess. That's something that I really got to work on later. But just to stop monologuing as well, like it's still such a bad habit of mine too. I'm sure you've noticed that as well.
Honestly, not too badly actually. Like it's pretty rare, I think, that you do that. So I'm okay with that. What? Oh. Okay, I'm trolling here. I'm not even talking about the bans whatsoever. Like I'm still talking about Thresh and Braum. I needed to switch to bans at this point.
I think if a champion's impactful though, like we do need to talk about it. I do agree it might not be the most impactful, right? Because they are supports.
Yeah, wait, quick check. Did one of you just unpause that video?
And the Viego both take a lot
No, I
of
did
priority
not.
on
I
the
haven't
traps.
touched my mouse. What?
Andy, did you unpause it?
Straight up.
No.
If you don't
Oh, okay. That means I don't have control. Okay. Because I was pausing so that like we could hear Orbital a bit better.
Oh, it was Andy.
Oh, what? Okay. That's fine. I mean, feel free to pause or whatever as you guys need to. I just was trying to pause it a little bit because hearing Orbital there and hearing Orbital here was overlapping.
ban it. Both.
I don't know if that's good or bad, but I'll take it. But
ban it. Both.
yeah, I think we do.
And then
it's sometimes I feel hard to select like how are you going to like what does the champion bring to the table, right? Why are you talking about the champion so much? Like what's the whole reasoning? Because sometimes I realize it and sometimes I don't. For me, it's I usually try not to dive too much into champions unless I feel like it should.
Taken away, just saying, listen,
Or anything like that.
We're just
But
gonna
like,
go
what's the main point like you personally want to bring out with some of the champions?
Ban Camille, first pick Jace. Well, we'll have to see. That is still an option here, but Vladimir gets picked up, and this is a new one. I don't believe we've seen either Axum or Harmony play it at all throughout this split. It's not a champion that. Okay, actually, so little thing about this here, like when the pick comes up, do you guys think that the play-by-play should be the one calling out like when a pick gets picked up, or should like the color just take it if it comes up?
Whoever is talking, I think it's just like the cleanest like.
Unless you have a big point, right?
It allows for a little bit of CC and lockdown, right? Long range.
Like if I'm on a huge point, then I should still go with that point, and then we can pick up the champion later. In champ select, it's not that.
You heard it. It was the Jace call.
It's not that painful, I would say, if we run over a champion, because we can always go back to it, right?
We'll go over to that wild.
So I think it's okay if you do point it out, especially if it's like a big champion. So like, if we're talking right now. Which we are, and we're still waiting for the P5 out of Wild side. That should be the big linchpin, and that should be something that brings impact, right? Like that is a P5 should always be like what brings the entire game together. So it's like right there, the Wukong also was kind of iffy for us, I think.
Is always really strong. My only criticism with that pickup right now is just that they're very. No, I think I just wouldn't shut up.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Because I was trying to figure out if you did swap to talking about the Wukong, which I think you did midway, which I think is okay, right? Because again, for a colorcaster, I actually think it's okay to keep talking about it, especially if there's no.
I don't remember if I.
Will go over to that wild card side, two primary top laners banned away. Plenty more to pick.
I think you have it.
I really like this Renekton pickup. I know I was talking about Renekton and Jhin for a while. I played a lot of Renekton in their regular season, but Anonymous champion pool is so big that I wasn't sure whether or not they'd go with this. And more importantly, it now gives them multiple lanes to work through for the early game. We talked about the fact that once you lock in that Jhin Thresh, they're looking to take over early here. And having another point of pressure as a failsafe is always really strong. My only criticism with that pickup right now is just that they're very...
So you were still talking about Renekton.
Yeah, I needed to cut right there. Like,
with a magic damage
well, I don't think
it's that big of a deal. Because like, you have a long time before we actually need to cut.
fairly early armor, especially.
True. Okay. I would say the one thing that could change to help that is you didn't have to go into team compositions just yet.
And
right?
to get around that, I mean,
that can be done after we see the entirety of the compositions locked in.
Yeah.
We can touch on it, but at that time we were still talking about specific champions and champion-related lanes. So something that you could have stopped on is the fact that now he's facing up against a Wukong. Maybe that matchup changes a little bit. Maybe that lane changes up, right? And then after that, we feed into questions about the entire composition as a whole for both sides. But other than that, I think the information was really solid though.
Right now pick that Lissandra blind. Honestly, I'm not a fan of Lissandra. She's getting buffs next patch. I still don't think those buffs are enough to make it. Yeah, no. I think that's a fair point. I think like I can start talking about comp after first 3 picks maybe. Like just to talk about like how they want to round out the comp in the last 2 picks.
Yeah.
But I shouldn't. Yeah, you're right. Like I shouldn't be talking about how the comp interacts completely. Like just more like what needs to be filled.
It can be the general information, but not so much specifics until we have what is now the very long break, right? Because I have realized in some of our casts we do tend to double back on the same things, right? Because we already talked about it in the past, we double back to it, and that's kind of our filler, where it shouldn't be filler. That should be brought up at the end. I feel. And like the way I do is, again, it goes back to the, the big to small or small to big, right? We just went from small, which is talking about which is talking about the specific champions, the matchups, right? Renekton versus Wukong, everything. And then I lead into the larger expanse, which would be those larger groups and all that. So
you said scaling, but if it gets out of control, I mean, you do have to put down
it still works, and we make it work really well together. But it's also something that I guess we should worry about a little bit.
Earlier fights, maybe with the Diana jumping in.
Because I think our flow is still really solid.
Yeah, it's still smooth. They don't really have pre-6, right? They have very ultimate reliant, but once they hit 6, while they will be weaker in skirmishes, in a full 5v5, look at the tools that Wildcard have drafted themselves. Vladimir Hemoplague is a multiplier here. And then you chain it with all the CC, Moonfall, Cyclone, Glacial Fissure. Sure, you can have all the damage in the world, but if you don't get to right-click, you don't get to move, you can't cast any spells or abilities, then it doesn't matter. Hemoplague finishes ticking, maybe they win that fight. It's very conditional in the early to mid-game, post-6 here for the side of Wildcard, but there are ways for them to win. And from OG, they have to play a little bit respectful. I'm gonna be honest here. Like, partially what I was saying was also because I thought OG had the better players. So, I mean, like Diana Wukong at 6 is actually really strong. But I was looking at what OG had and I was like, yeah, I don't know about this one.
Right after this break.
Yeah.
Okay, that was smooth.
Yeah. I try to make my intros and outros really smooth. Sometimes.
Okay.
And our passes are really good too.
Yeah, I didn't want to bring up that I also thought the holy crap, I cannot pause this thing. Is there like a central controller or somebody who's who?
I don't know. I'm not.
Because like, yeah, no, I'm just wondering if like only one person can control it. Anyways, yeah, I wanted to say that during the draft, and this is something that I've noticed, like, because I work with various different play-by-plays. Your ability to bring up like topics to talk about is very smooth. Like I like that idea of big to small that you were talking about there. Like, when you go from comp and then you talk about lanes and you talk about more specific conditions. One thing that I do notice a lot of times, because we have 3-minute delay plus loading time, which often comes out to 4 or 5 minutes, is that in that 3-minute spec delay, sometimes I feel like I don't have a good way to talk about what I want to talk about, or that, my play-by-play starts running out of things to talk about. So I really like that you sort of have a format which feels very sensible. Like it feels natural to go that way.
And I do that because of the fact that I have had to stall before and it hurts, right? Like, and to anyone watching or watches this later, right? Something that I always talk about is the flow of the broadcast in general, right? Like, how well does it flow together? How well do you bring a story to life? Because there's a huge difference between a good speaker and a bad speaker, right? There's a reason why some people can be motivational speakers, and there's also a reason why some people can't. There's a reason why some podcasts do really well and some don't. It's a flow that you have, and that's something that I really want to do, because how you present the information, like everything that you present about the information, the same information can be said 100 different ways. Like, everyone knows the information, right? Everyone knows the Wukong versus Renekton matchup. Everyone knows these compositions. Everyone's played League. But what separates good versus great casters is how you present that information. Is it easy on the ears, right? I don't have to be correct. I try and be correct. I try to be correct. Do you have to be right all the time? Yes and no. Because if you present it in a rough pattern, I would say, or in a way that is not pleasing to the ears, you immediately turn people off of that broadcast, right?
Sure.
If you're everyone has a different way of doing it, right? Everyone has a different way. For me, it's smooth. It's talking in a way where I'm not jolting, where it's not grindy, per se. Some people thrive off of combative language, right? Where they're always making fun, where they're always making jokes, wherever they're always, kind of nitpicking at each other, right? Throwing maybe snide remarks, maybe at, last solo queue game, you flamed me, or, into this game. But if there are some points where it just grinds, and so like, I like what we have, because even if we monologue, even if we talk too much, even if one of us does that, we always find a really nice balance with it, even if we're talking about nonsense. Like, half the time, let's be real, the stuff that I bring up is nonsense, right? Like, let's be real, a lot of it is nonsense.
Speak for yourself, man. I'm just a font of knowledge. I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, come on, Andy, you can chime in. You can stop playing Runeterra for like 2 seconds to comment on this shit.
Whoa. I mean, no, I think you guys have a good chemistry, like in the draft. It's just I think it can be hard sometimes to be like, especially for like the Masters teams, because it's like right in between that point of like, are they actually going to bring out like a real team comp, or are like they going to revert back to comfort picks? Like, is the prep that I did worthwhile?
Mm-hmm.
And then for mAAdcity, OG, and Wildcard, it was probably a little easier just because like they have history with each other. But it's just interesting. I think that was a pretty good one, probably the best, I think, of the whole season, just because of how much prep you guys had. But
yeah,
damn, good thing we chose this VOD for Andy then.
Whoa,
yeah.
Make us look good in front of this.
Yeah. I will say one of the criticisms I would have for us is, I had it and I lost it. Wow, that's really bad.
You can always rewind to whatever point you want to make
okay.
as well. Yeah.
One of the things that I think we both need to work on is slowing down our language in the champion select, right? It's not so much that, hey, we talk really fast and we're getting too excited or anything like that, because I think the energy is good, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there are some points where I feel like if we slow down our language, like I forcibly tell myself this sometimes, slow down the language, or slow down how fast we're speaking, but speak in larger words, right? Find a way to, which is hard because I'm blanking on some of the words, but find a way to say the same thing with fewer words but have the same amount of impact, right? And I guess that's almost like a stalling technique. I guess you could call that a stalling technique. But I realize there's a lot of time where we run into the game at a high level, at least in my eyes. Some people don't see it as a high level. Some people see it as a regular level. But sometimes I feel like we are entering into a break of all things at a very high tempo. Am I crazy, or?
That's an interesting thing to talk about there, because is it bad to go into a break with high tempo? Like, I'm just thinking back to, like, how we usually segue like into the game, right? It's always like, and we'll be right back sort of thing, right? Like, do we want to end it low tempo or high tempo?
I also think it depends on the match, right? Like,
okay,
like it also depends on the match, or like who's playing, right? Like for the grand finals, I think it's great, right? Because this is the game, this is the teams, this is everything, right? This is their chance to kind of prove themselves, whatever. But there's also times where we enter in like it's a giant team fight or anything like that, or just it's also points where it's like it excuse me, I wouldn't say so much as going into it with a high tempo, but sometimes feeling like we've lost the plot of our point, right? Because when we talk and talk and talk, especially for me, if I don't close out my words quickly,
Mm-hmm.
I might not give you enough time to speak, right? And that's something that I don't want to do. I don't want to take time away from my color caster. That's something that I do not want to do.
Okay, so it's more just about like the time that we're using up, I guess, like just being more concise.
And how we use time. It's not all the time either. Like there are times where I think it's fine to do what we did because we worked on it, right? But for me specifically, I've personally been working on that because there are times where it's like at the beginning, I'm sure if we pulled up a broadcast, I think from 2020 of us, right? I'm sure there were plenty of times where I'm talking and you're just like, what the fuck is wrong with this dude? Right? Like he is talking forever, and it's because I lose my words and I backtrack trying to find those words and trying to explain the word that I want to talk about. And in the same essence, I try and explain the explanation over and over again, right? And I don't want to do that. I want to be concise, give a hard pass to you, and that way it sounds clean on my end at least. But for you, I think it's great. Like again, you match my tempo or you push the tempo and I follow up on it, right?
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. So basically, it sounds like it's kind of like focus, trying to make sure that we're not getting distracted. We're getting our points across concisely so that we don't get lost along the way and we don't lose track of the thing while trying to explain it. Or am I way off base?
I want to say yes, and then I want to say no. I don't know. I brought up the point. I brought up the point, and this is where my brain goes. This is what the fuck are you saying, right? Like, what the fuck are you saying, Daniel? This is a terrible thing.
Well, I think it's definitely brought up some interesting topics in terms of where we're going with this. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Topic for a VOD review too. This feels more like we got to discuss like casting in general.
Yeah, which is part of the thing about this. I don't want to just talk about little itty bitty details, like oh you should have said this, or oh you should have said that, or oh you missed this, missed that. Like sure, bring that up, but I also want to talk about like the why of what we do, like ending. So like yeah, if we say like okay that draft went well, like Andy was saying, D0Mcast was saying the flow was good. I want to look at why was the flow good, right? Like, was it the energy? Was it the way we're picking up off of each other? Being able to follow up, the timing of things, like what should we have been talking about and why should we have been talking about things? Not just, oh, we should have been talking about this. Because it's not about the formulaic, like, hey, every draft has got to go this way or every game should be cast a specific way. It's more like the idea behind it, which lets us then like be flexible when we go into other games.
All right, Andy, chime in here. Come on. Dom?
You guys are making really good points. Like, it's all just like I don't know, like without getting too like into just like casting in general, like I'm kind of lost right now. I don't really know what to say. You guys did.
Dom just lost with his Dragon Snap deck or something like that.
No. I am not playing that deck anymore. that deck's only to troll people that don't know what they're doing, like RMC.
Oh,
I'll take it.
But no, like it's important that like. Honestly, you guys could both just have like no actual knowledge about League and have really good chemistry together, and it would still be more enjoyable than like people that know every little in and out of the game. And the fact that you guys have really good chemistry and know about the game is just like beneficial.
See if we can say that after he watches the finals again. Like 2 hours of pure torture. Let's do it. Let's
true. Okay, let's get into the game. I think
back to me then.
We survived the draft. Let's get into the
we did survive the draft. Now we actually got into the game. Oh my god.
Quick check.
I'm gonna preface this entire thing, by the way, that I hate how I team fight lately, and I will be working on that.
Well, yeah, we'll look into that when it happens. But I'm a color caster. Orbital, you're a play-by-play.
No.
D0Mcast, you're a color or play-by-play when you used to cast?
I did both for a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I started color, but then I stopped keeping up on the patch notes, so I was switched to play-by-play.
Fair enough. Okay, so Andy will give us feedback on both sides. Okay, let's get into it here.
Going wild. You have been able to talk to teams before, and it's like they have the exact opposite playstyles.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, if you're calling yourself mAAdcity, calling yourselves OG doesn't exactly inspire thoughts of conservative ideas here. I mean, they're the mAAdcity. So
is it crazy to say I've never actually seen the entire layout like this? Like the entire overlay?
Dodgy composition here where you're just
because it looks clean.
30-40 minutes.
I like it.
30-40 minutes if you're not in a I can see the text popping up behind that unified there. Andy, you didn't hide the text box.
Oh yeah, that was my bad. This game.
Oh good. I don't think it pops up too much.
I moved it like right after that. I think.
How well is he gonna be able to do in this mid lane?
I just didn't shrink it.
Mark Boots contain. And how well can Mark?
Because usually it's like really tiny.
Well, I don't think we're gonna see crazy Vlad happening in the next couple of minutes. Did you actually shrink it just for like production purposes, and then like increase the size when you play again, or do you just usually have it small?
I increase it when I play, and I have it like right in the center of the screen when I play.
Wait, hold up. Let's go back a little bit.
That level 2 actually takes a lot more. One more shot though. Blueberry with the flash out of the tower through the.
What were we talking about there?
Eyes on Harmony. How well is he gonna be able to do in this mid lane? How well can he keep Mark Boots contained? And how well can Mark Boots do the same?
You guys are saying that Mark Boots was gonna like gap Harmony. Oh, I think you were talking about how Harmony doesn't have flash, and then something about Mark was just gonna like gap Harmony, or then like hard roam, and Harmony's not gonna have any kill pressure because he doesn't have flash, and it's a Blanc.
Right.
Most of that's true.
Actually takes a lot more. One more shot though. Blueberry with the flash out of the tower through the.
I think you were also saying like Harmony's gonna get like not gonna have time to scale, as opposed to like not get, as opposed to get outscaled because it's Vlad.
Walking back into that here.
Okay. I think that's what I was saying. I was like, Vlad's gonna like hard outscale this team, but you're like, nah, LeBlanc's gonna like gap them so hard it's not gonna matter.
I think I said that. I also think RMC was actually in you.
All right, so
in your court there.
Yeah, I would agree that I think Vlad is meant to be a counter. So.
It's meant to, but in this composition, I think I was saying specifically like I just don't think Harmony would have that chance a lot.
Okay, but I just want to go back. Like I felt like we didn't. LeBlanc puts a lot of pressure. Wait, okay. 5701 gets hooked.
Yeah, and that's
okay. Yeah, that's fine. I think that transition was fine. Axel.
All right, so
wait, where's the trade?
One more shot though. Blueberry with the flash out of the tower through the exhaust gets a cheeky first blood. Okay, Wildcard might have picked for the late game, but that was not a late game play coming through from 35701. Walking back into that here, and you give first blood to this Jhin.
Listening back, I realized how fast we talk. Like,
this is 1.25 speed. Okay, I slowed it back down to 1. Yeah.
Oh, I was like, it sounds like. Oh my god, yeah, that's way different. All right, never mind. All right, go back to 1.25. Oh, it's more hilarious. I was like, dang, I could be a rapper right now. Jeez. All right. 1.25 speed.
I mean, we can keep it at 1.
No, that's okay. I think 1.25 is fine. But I think our passes are clean, right? There are points where you just have to like kind of pump and dump, right? You just hardcore drop whatever you were saying at that point to allow the other person to make their point or to make their call, right? So I think we do that pretty often too with how some of the action occurs and how we pass in general. So I don't think there was any problem with it.
Already some explosive action.
I mean, I think that top side, like I should have passed sooner. Like that fight between Axum and mAAd, like
because it wasn't there was no like death, right? There
was kill pressure.
Danger. Not as much, right? Like I feel like you and I both know that there wasn't actually going to be a kill. Once Axum kind of expended everything, it was going to be a minimal chase, right? But you passed there when Javi came in, which is where real kill threat came down, and I agree with that pass.
They're gonna rotate in. Javi not enjoying that. The hook from the Fog of War. Great attempt by Jiggity, but a nice slash by Javi.
Yeah. Because I definitely feel it was okay, right? Because in Nominate and Axum, we've been watching them battle each other for a decent while, and it was like they never really could fully kill each other. Also, they don't really have Ignite, right? It's 2 teleport lanes
have a single.
Who's gonna run down who, right? Who actually has kill threat at the end of the day? So you didn't pass because you didn't feel it kind of in your bones, kind of thing, right? So I just overall I think that was the right call not to pass it to me at that point.
And walk away, control the pacing in this top lane. No, not gonna lie, like I didn't call it because I didn't notice it. Like I actually think Renekton could have killed there.
That top,
but
Axum will have to be on the run. He'll always have to be worried about that potential chase down from the Renekton, right? You will not.
How low was?
Get away. Good low.
I think I missed that too. Like
they were
the
half
how low was
each
AXM?
after.
Shoot, my bad. I went way too far back.
Be double buzz up so that just time here.
So they were half after the expenditure, or like, yeah, see.
Happening in the next couple of minutes.
So we can watch them here, and I think it'll show.
So 3-5-7. That
this is the first blood, and it's right after this.
Actually takes a lot more. One more shot though. Blueberry with the flash under the towers through the exhaust gets a
yeah. So they're personally.
Okay. Wildcard.
Personally, it doesn't feel like they have kill threat, right? Level 3 here, they expend everything and they just don't have that much.
Or maybe it was Wukong with kill threat.
So he uses it there, attacks, and like, and what more do they have, right?
They're looking for lane control, and their bot lane, that early kill, once he goes back, Nutty bars in 3-5-7.
And it's a very slow pace forward.
For the next 5 minutes.
Oh.
Like if Innominate had, if Axum didn't flash out there,
so,
there is kill threat.
Innominate.
Yes, I will agree, but the pass wasn't a hard stop like it was on bot lane.
So
true,
yeah. The bot lane pass was harsh. Because it had to be harsh because it's that kind of scenario, but I like kind of the smooth transition. You finished your point, and so I really like that because you can also feel the pace of the game at those points.
Yeah, actually that's one of the things I've been working on is trying to smoothly transition. Oh, okay.
Having a great time here.
Wait,
yeah,
did I
here
catch that?
you passed it at the right time, so I had control over that because it might have been a hype moment.
All right.
And I also didn't go really crazy on that point either,
and then
because
got a flash out of Axum. So
maybe
both top and bot already some explosive action.
Yeah, and that top lane, these top laners, they've got
Okay.
really quick fingers.
I want to see if I caught that Jiggity was moving.
Both of them just moved the same distance. So they knew, they were ready, they were waiting. Now Axum did have to blow teleport here, and I'm glad that Javi's come up to try and shade cover this top side, but there is a bit of a contest for this scuttle, and Jiggity has moved.
Oh, good. I did catch that. Okay.
He's having a great time here. Top lane though, still seeing.
I think
a little bit of a touch of double
one of the things that
means,
especially when
not allowed.
Whenever I cast, I always try and double check.
Top lane scuttle though is taken by Castle. They're gonna get a rotate in. Javi not enjoying that. The flat of the hook from the fog of war. Great attempt by Jiggity, but a nice flash by Javi.
What I really like is to always know the ebb and flow of when something will occur, and make the highs high, make the lows lows, right? That's one of my main prerogatives. I don't even know the word.
Priorities.
I don't know English, whatever. Yeah, priorities. It's one of the things that I personally take a lot of pride in. Is how do you make those big moments that much more important, right? Like how do you put emphasis on there? And for me, it's specifically I slow down in the early stages. If nothing happens, then I let it go.
Walk forward,
right? I don't hype up every single fight as I do
from the center
the big fights,
right?
Yeah, of course.
Will have to be on the run. He'll always have to be worried about that.
And so I make sure, like, I can tell if a dive's gonna happen. I can tell if something like that's gonna change. So I want to make it known to everyone else.
And JD went on a hard winning mission as stole away.
Yeah.
A couple wolves. Now we're gonna get the fight in Castle. Is the first one to potentially Castle blows lands. That's gonna be a flash up from the sniper shot, but a dash back in means Castle is not gonna enjoy that death. Mid lane though, Harmony is taken out. Mark Boots feeling great, and a collapse from OG might spell an early game disaster. Wildcards have got to run away. Javi gets flashed out. Hook lands onto Aphelios, and Nutty Bars goes down in the jungle exchange. It ends in a bloody 3-for-1.
And they might not be done yet. Harmony TP.
Scale 0 to 10. How do you think that fight went for me?
On that top side, right? I liked it. I actually really liked the slower, like that you didn't try and necessarily rush everything in because there was a lot of action, but and I like the fact that you weren't just like calling out ability names necessarily. It was like the key moments. I liked it. Like let's say 8 out of 10.
I'll take it.
Andy?
Dom, can I pull you away like 2 seconds?
No, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm here. Jeez, I'm letting you guys finish your thoughts.
I
think that was a really good fight. I think that was pretty clean. I like that you're already like ready with the jump back to like the Thresh hook part of like the fight going around the blue buff wall. Well, because like the camera was focused on Mark Boots, and I don't know like what was going on with your like spectator cam then, but like the spectator cam went out with Mark Boots. Mark Boots killed him like as like before it was even like traveling to Thresh. It was you're like already calling out the new Thresh like hook onto and then Renekton and kill onto I think it was Nutty Bars.
That potential chase down.
Yeah, there was a. It was the follow through because I figured Mark Boots already had the kill. That was the big thing for me, right? So fight breaks out. My thought is here. First thing is Castle, right? Everything on Castle. Is he gonna die? Is he gonna falter here? And it's correct. He does actually almost come down, but he's able to flash out. My eyes are drawn to Mark Boots, who in the mid lane Harmony was killing. I had to finish my thought. And then here, Javi's running, but I already figure he's dead, right? Just another distortion, and then down there the hook.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're right. You read that flow really well. So
in a bloody 3-for-1.
Calling the deaths though, I feel is something that I do a little bit too often to cap off a team fight.
Like, what do you mean by
I've been told I
deaths?
do that a lot, and I need to stop.
Like, what do you mean by calling, like summarizing, like, oh, it's a 4-for-1 or something like that, or?
Yeah, 3-for-1, 4-for-1, and I use it as a closer because I don't have the words to properly close it out.
I actually think that's like that's a perfectly fine baseline to fall back on, because a lot of times, like at the end of this fight, like how many people died, you can't tell. Everybody's back up.
Yeah.
So like having somebody recap that, I think is not a bad thing, especially in the earlier fights. Later in the game where it's like, 3-for-2 and everybody's still dead, you can still see the gray screens, and I think it's less important.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember looking through some of my VODs, it was like 80 or 90% of the time I would do it. And even in the later game fights. So yeah, you're just like, yo, why is he doing this? We know how many champions died, kind of thing.
Yeah. I think later in the game that's probably more true. One thing that I do like from play-by-plays, I notice like when I'm listening to play-by-plays, and like I think it's one of the reasons why I like having Flowers casting, for example, or Quick Shots casting, is at the end of a fight, like they always have that like quippy line to like sort of sum it up, sort of thing. Like I like seeing that or hearing that. So if you're able to put that in, like especially later fights where the stakes are higher, I think that's like a really cool thing. But that's later, I guess. The beginning, like I said, I think calling just the numbers is fine.
I've had one or two that are really big, and that's usually it's a very obvious, 4-for-0 win or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But I don't do it as often as I feel I should, and you're very much correct. That's like the impact that comes from the final fight or something like that. So another thing to work on.
I mean, obviously, like nobody expects you to get all of it done at the same time. Like, yeah. But baby steps. Maxim needs more than just one wave to even things up. OG not only win that fight, not only get 2 kills apiece on Mark Boots and Blueberry at this early point of the game, but they get Ocean Dragon as well to make their laning phase even that much more potent.
I still can't believe that occurred off of Castle.
I should have probably taken a second to explain why that's good for the lane.
The dragon?
Yeah. Like one of the things I was thinking about the time when I was watching my casts and some of the other casts is that sometimes when I complain like, oh, a color caster isn't adding value, it's like sometimes it's just because they don't explain enough. And so like I feel like one of the things I've been working on recently is anytime I make a statement, it must add value beyond what is immediately on the screen. So it's like, oh, they take Ocean Drake. Like that's on screen. That's obvious. Like as a color caster, I should explain why I even bring that up. Like whether it be dragon stacking as a win condition, whether it be, clearing the dragon out to deny it from the enemy, or like whether it's, Ocean Drake, right? Like greater sustain in lane, that it heals you and therefore you get sustained. Because all I said in this case was I think it makes their laning more potent. I didn't explain how or why. Every dragon makes your laning more potent.
Yeah. And I think that goes back to like how do you present the information, right? Because I think a lot of people always assume that the people viewing these streams is always going to be, people that have played the game, right? People that have always played League of Legends. These are guys that maybe play 3 or 4 hours every day, and they're the ones watching our stream, so we tend to negate some of the smaller details, right? But I'm always of the thought that I get everyone in there. You know, this might be a mom and dad that are just tuning in because they're, you know, the kids playing in the finals or something, right?
Yeah.
Or it's a little kid just learning League and they look up to one of the players because they met him once and they're like, hey, come watch me play in this, right? And it's like, all right, how do we present the information in a way that can also be enjoyable to those people? Maybe not the main source of the entertainment base, but decent enough, right?
Yeah.
Like, you could point out, well, you know, and it does help because it gives 1% of your missing mana and HP every 5 seconds back to you, which does help as an early first strike, right?
Is it only 1%?
I would say though, for the amount of information that you had laid down, because it was quite literally after a team fight, right?
Yeah.
I think you were quite literally.
Well, I felt it with the whole
right
Mark
after
Boots
that
and
big team
Blueberry
fight
thing
that they
too.
won, and it's just like, how much information do you choose to kind of cram into that one section?
Yeah, and
So,
the other thing, I did it with Mark Boots and Blueberry too.
Like, and that's why maybe you didn't explain, because most of the time you actually do explain a lot of the dragons and how it impacts the lane.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it same thing with the Mark Boots and Blueberry thing. I said that, oh, Mark Boots and Blueberry, they got the kills. I didn't explain why that was good because they are the carries of the team. But yeah, just something I've been trying to work on a little bit, and I failed to do so here. Dom dipped out for a little bit. I don't know if he's coming back, but yeah, we can continue without him for now.
Yeah. I think it's not so much like you presenting information. You always bring information, which is really, really good, right? It's separating the individual facts that you want to bring and presenting them as a single point, right? So like in that, you either had to select, do you want to go over the team fight, why that's strong? Because we already knew once the team fight ended that they were going to move to Dragon. Like, that's kind of the obvious situation there. So you can either decide to break down the team fight, why that was important, or you can bring up the Dragon and why that's important instead, right? Like, you kind of have to pick the two, but slapping both of them together are two different objective points that we should talk about. So
I think that's one of the hardest things I have, like, after a fight, because I've always been told after a fight, the most important thing is to look forward to, like, okay, what does this fight mean, like, for the team in the immediate future? But at the same time, it's like, there are sometimes important points which happen in the fight, which I feel the need to bring up, especially since we don't have replays. And if I wait any longer, I'm going to forget what happened in the fight, much less the viewers, right? So it's like, I'm kind of forced to go like, okay, maybe I should recap first and then move into... It's something I've struggled with. Thoughts, Orbital? Like, how should I be taking some of these post games, like post fights?
So the way I do it, and for those that may not know, I'm not just a play-by-play. I'm not just a dumb guy that says what's going on the screen, although I do that pretty well, I think. I do color cast on the side, and I've been, in my history in League, that's where I got started. I've been playing since like Season 3, right? I feel a decent amount of information in the game. So for the games, when you're trying to summarize, most people know exactly what already happened on the screen, right? We already know how the team fight broke down, and a good play-by-play has already said that to the teams or to the viewers, right? I pointed out some of the big points. I pointed out some of those massive points and some all those big plays or whatever you want to talk about. Main thing is the overall bleed through. So two things that I would usually go for is I pick out the key moment of that fight, which my opinion would be, personally, it would have been Harmony dying, right? That to me was a huge point because it was a solo kill. It was literally off to the side of the fight. Or you could point out that Mark Boots has complete chase potential now and that he is extremely strong and controls that mid lane where Wild couldn't collapse in with Vladimir. Like, that was another big thing. Third was the fact that Nutty Bar stepped up too close, and that is something you can't do as an ADC, right? That is an unfortunate scenario. Or you could just say that overall OG won a fight on the wrong side of the map and came out miles ahead. And that bodes very well for them, right?
But we got to pick and choose.
yeah, but you can pick either of those. You don't have to recap the whole thing, right? You don't have to say every little thing that happened. You don't have to say that, oh, Mark Boots was able to get this, but also, you know, Nutty Bars was doing that, which I don't think you do. I wholly don't think you do because I don't hear it. Because if I heard it, it would be a full 1.5-minute monologue after every single team fight, right? But to transition it, it's why is that so important? Well, Mark Boots got 2 kills, which just shows now that the mid lane is over, right? It's mid lane is gone theoretically, right? We'll see it later that Mark Boots crushes this entire mid lane, but that's that point. Second would have been that that Nutty Bars got hooked in. An ADC, especially one that brings so much impact, can't keep getting caught out. And it forces 2 different mindsets, right? One is I can't step up anymore, so I'm not even going to be in range to auto attack, or I have to keep trying over and over again. So those are, you know, something you could possibly talk about that leads into the rest of the game. Third would be the fact that OG feels so comfortable that they're probably going to try that again later. They're going to keep taking jungle fights, which means that Wild now have to play even more defensive or take much more a much riskier team fights every single time they choose to challenge OG anywhere on the map. It's not so much pointing out if there was not a big starting moment, like a giant wombo combo, right? The combination of ultimates working in perfect unison. You can just blanket statement it and then segue into the aftermath or what the echo or the ripple effect is going to be later. I think, at least.
Yeah, no, I think definitely looking forward. I guess like the question was kind of just like, should we be taking the time to like, sort of even look back at all into the fight, or should I just leave it? Especially since we don't have replays, right? And if we do, should I be putting what's going forward first, or should we be looking at like the ramifications, like looking forward first and then looking back, or should we just like look back first quickly, like maybe 1 point tops, and then looking forward?
I would say in the early to mid game fights, it's like 1 to 2 sentence coverage, because again, a good play-by-play should have already done most of your job for you, right? With how I cover the fight, you should be able to, with 1 sentence, be able to make viewers recall that specific moment, right? So if we're talking about the impact Mark Boots had, well, Mark Boots got those 2 kills, and immediately the audience, if the job is done right, should be able to recall, well, Mark Boots was able to get a solo kill in mid and then follow up on the kill on Javi later. So that's what that's what the color caster is going to be talking about, right? And then you immediately go into why that's there. So early to mid game, I would say it's pretty simple 1 to 2 line recall sentences that segue into the rest of your point. Late game, depending on the team fight, of course, you can take much longer to break it down, because usually those ones have lasting impact literally in that team fight itself, right? Unless it's a full wipe on one side or another. Not only does that team fight have impact on the previous fight, but also on the ensuing maybe second re-engage or something like that. So late game, I would say feel free to continue diving into it, because that's also where flanking becomes an option, right? Where the opponents go, where they choose to be, or what abilities are down, you know, what summoners are down, how much damage do the teams have, you can talk about a lot more.
Well, I think this one, not the best example. Maybe later, if there's another fight where, you know, because my fear a lot of times is that the play-by-play has so much going on. Sometimes you'll miss a little thing, like a little flank or a little zoning on the side. And there's literally no way you have time to even mention that in the chaos of the fight. And that's like what I'm thinking of when I'm talking about talking back into the fight. So there's no way to sort of evoke that memory, because it just wasn't there. But it didn't happen in that fight. We'll see if it happens somewhere else. And if it does, I'll bring it up again. But for now, we can continue going.
And I definitely know what you mean too, now that I think about it. Like, that's... Yeah, I fully get what you're saying there. I sidetracked very hard there.
No, I think it's valid. So
when you're this far ahead, when you've got winning lanes, it's all a matter of perspective. Castle wasn't caught. Castle was bait, and they caught.
I've also tried interjecting. I don't know if you noticed, but I tried at specific times interjecting jokes or trying to lighten the mood a bit to break up kind of the constant... I want to say the constant peace that we generally have after fights, or in non-high activity moments.
Into range, but of course the lantern was there.
I have not noticed it, but if it just point it out to me when it happens, because
well, like right there. So you heard my two little laughs there, right? Stuff like that, right? I
Okay,
used to
okay.
try and keep it to myself, but there are also times where I feel it does help kind of break up our constant monologue. It's the forcing kind of a change in the speech pattern to give listeners. Oh boy.
Castle, is this a repeat? Again, they're going for it, but this is a level 6 difference. Nice triple play. Nutty Bars is going really, really low. Exhaust doesn't stop the damage. Jiggity is able to get the reset for that jungler, and Castle is going to.
You forget your words there.
Yes, I had to clear my throat, and I was so mad that I lost my flow. So mad.
Wait, hold on. It felt like that came out of nowhere.
Is this a repeat? That's why Harmony's
What did?
The fight.
I wouldn't be surprised to see.
It did. You can see it in the bottom right. Or sorry, not bottom right. The mini map. Fuck, I have my words. I'm a little slow.
You're casting after this too.
Oh, don't tell me that. It's Valorant. It's people are gonna hate me for this, but Valorant is easier to cast than League, in my personal opinion.
Maybe if Javi gotten into range, the lantern was there.
But you can see it. So it's already prepped on the bottom side. So
still though, mid lane, big thing is Harmony.
6 times out of 10, I'm watching the minimap more for a lot of the stuff that goes on. I don't care what's actually happening on the map.
That's why Harmony's playing
much more conservative. So I'm always keeping track of the minimap, so I at least have an idea of it.
What are we talking about, sir? I'm trying to catch what we talked about here.
Oh, sorry, I'm talking over you.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
A kill.
Go for it.
Maybe if Javi had gotten into range, but of course the lantern was. That's why Harmony felt okay trying to take that trade. Still though, mid lane, big thing is Harmony is keeping up in farm. That death that he had was a solo kill, by the way. Mark Boots was able to get that on his own.
Okay,
that's why Harmony's playing much more conservatively. I wouldn't be surprised to see if he's scared, maybe Merc Tread's coming out early.
Okay, I think we took way too long on that point, and that's the issue. Yeah.
I 100% took way too long. that is the thing, right? I was telling you, it's the thing of not concisely cutting my point off. I fudge.
Because I think you changed like 3 points there. So the first one was like.
I did.
I know you started with the Hemo play.
Coming in, they caught Nutty Bars coming in, and part of that goes back to Blueberry, right? We talked about the fact that you gave this Jhin for was a chance at a kill. Maybe if Javi had gotten into range, the lantern was there, so that's why Harmony felt okay trying to take that trade.
That's fine.
Still though, mid lane, big thing is Harmony.
Okay,
right there.
fine.
I should have cut it off right there.
No, I think this is an okay pivot because you're like wrapping that up.
His own. That's why Harmony's playing much more conservatively. I wouldn't be surprised to see if he's scared, maybe Merc Tread's coming out early. Yeah, and it's not a bad choice for the Vladimir here. You're not necessarily looking to carry the game early.
Kind of.
I mean, yeah, it's a
like
okay,
it's the same
it wasn't,
point.
Yeah.
But I proposed the issue and then also answered the issue, and I feel I shouldn't do that sometimes as a play-by-play, right?
I think it's fine. You just needed to like speed up. Like you're talking about, oh, Mark Boots solo killed him, and therefore he needs to play more conservatively, and then like maybe he built Smirk Treads. I think like you could have probably put that together. Like,
yeah,
Mark Boots solo killed him, so Harmony needs to build defensively Merc Treads so that he doesn't do it again, and then that would have allowed us to talk about that Fufa brewing in the bot, right? Because the fact that Castle is already invading probably means we should have transitioned to that. Like, or at least brought it up that, hey, Castle's invading aggressively, lane states aren't great, and then
his jungler there.
Hold on.
The difficult part is it's directed cam. That's something that I always try and remember, right? Is we can talk about the minimap all we want and talk about how people are invading and everything, but I also feel like we should stay mostly on what the observer sees, right?
Ooh, that's an interesting topic.
Because like good observers you follow, like Sam Price, right? And don't get me wrong, Dom doesn't. In this broadcast, Dom was doing 2 jobs, so we were just like, just let the observer be the observer, right? I think that's what we did, right?
Yeah, we usually use directed cam and upsurge and unified.
Yeah. And so it's just like, but good observers, like you can track exactly what's going on. And if you're a good observer, the casters cast what the observer is watching. Not so much what's happening around the outside of the map, right?
Huh.
Because that's what the viewer sees. The viewer is not always going to be looking at the 50% of the screen that's in the bottom right corner. So it's like, do we have to focus on what's exactly brewing down there if it's not being shown on the stream?
That's interesting because I actually have a different view on it, which is that I've always preferred looking at the minimap, and if my observer doesn't catch it, because they're only human, right?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
I feel like if I can see it on the mini map brewing already, it's worth, and if I feel like it's worth mentioning, then whether or not the observer pans to it is almost secondary. Because if my issue is that if, and this is generally something I've noticed as a color caster, because my belief as a color caster is that I need to set up my play-by-play for their plays. So if I'm not setting it up for you, then it's going to be hard, because you're going to go into this fight, and if I haven't set up that, okay, you know, Hemo Plague's still down, Mark Boots doesn't have the flash, Ignite's about to come up here, Castle's going in flashes, but has the ultimate where Javi's not yet 6. If I don't give you all that prep information that's set up here, when you go into it, and Javi doesn't get a Moonfall, you've got to explain in the middle of a fight that, hey, Javi's not yet 6, doesn't have Moonfall yet, and it's like, that breaks your flow. So that's the way I approach like fights as a color caster here. So I feel like I need to be like, okay, they're going in, everybody's there. Wildcard has the numbers advantage because it's on their side of the map, because Nutty Bars and 35701 isn't shoved under turret. And I think, and I'm going to play this out here, that I didn't do any of that.
Looking to carry the game.
That's also not your fault, though. Remember, it's not so much that you couldn't. It's I didn't give you the chance to.
No, see, I'm talking right here. Like, I'm talking, and I'm not talking about the invade.
Yeah, and it's not a bad choice for the.
See, okay.
Not necessarily looking to carry
so 731 is what we see.
But Harmony was trying to back up his jungle.
But here I am talking about Merc Treads.
7 seconds. I mean,
this is straight up again.
Because you had to segue from my point as well. Like, I didn't give you a great exit strategy for that.
Doesn't stop the damage. Jiggity is able to get the reset for that.
I don't know. That's also what I kind of feel like. Like, I didn't give you a good chance to.
No. You're giving excuses for me, Orbital. Like, I could easily pivot. Like, you're talking about Merc Treads and Vlad, right? And you can go from like, okay, you know, he should have built Merc Treads, and I could just like, yeah, he could, but right now that's not the issue. The issue is Castle is deep in there without backup. Like, you know, like I could have just quickly transitioned. This is just more, I think neither of us were paying attention to the minimap. We're talking about Vladimir, who's probably the most boring lane right now in the... Actually, no, he's not. I was going to say he is, but actually top lane has had 0 action.
Yeah.
And he has been solo killed, so that's kind of fair. But yeah, like I think this was a minimap fail. And that was going for like, what is this? 7:37 is roughly when the fight breaks out.
It's 7:40, so it was 10 seconds from my end point to you coming in.
Yeah, I'm trying to see when we should have probably mentioned that, right?
Able to get
like,
that on his own.
Even here at 7:20, Castle's already like balls deep in the enemy jungle with no backup. Like, you've got mid lane prio, you do not have bot lane prio. So if anything happens, Nutty Bars and 35701 gets there first. Like, we should probably at least mention that Castle is in there with, you know, Javi, and we had 20-something seconds to at least mention it.
Yeah, and again, that falls on me as well, because again, I proposed it. I should have let you answer it, because at this point right here at about 7:20, 7:25, that would have been the perfect cutoff, right? Because
that's why Harmony's playing.
I'd already started my point at about 7:17, 7:18.
Maybe Merc Treads coming out early.
So
yeah, and it's not
I feel like again, this is.
Yeah.
I know both of us could have done better.
Yeah.
But me giving you more room to explain, more room to actually talk, would have granted you easier access to, right? So it's like.
Yeah, and that's something both of us can, you know, like it's, and that's one of the things I love about VOD reviewing as well, is that like when I VOD review alone, it's always just like, okay, what could I have done, right? Whereas in this case, it's like, what both of us could have done a little bit more, right? Like I could have transitioned faster, but in this case, yeah, you're right. It probably, because you had that longer period, if you could have cut earlier, it probably would have been the ideal way to handle this one. But yeah, and then the transition here.
Looking for that gank mid wasn't 6. Castle, is this a repeat? This is straight up again. They're going for it, but this is a level 6 difference. Nice triple play. Nutty Bars is going really low. Exhaust doesn't stop the damage. Jiggity is able to get the reset for that jungler, and Castle is going to force the flash on the Brown.
I hate my voice.
Back tower. Fourth shot is
like, I know it. I have to, right? But I still hate the fact that it happened.
OG are able to get a full collapse in the enemy side jungle.
Hey, at least you didn't count that one. You didn't say it was a 2 for nothing.
Yeah, well, it's also I think one of the things that I improved on is closing out a team fight much quicker, right? Like, I don't have to explain also. That's something that a play-by-play shouldn't have to do. I shouldn't have to explain what I just said. There's no reason to do that.
Yep. Fully agree. I think a play-by-play's job at the end of the fight is just wrap up. Make it punchy, wrap up. You literally don't need to give any more breakdown to the fight. You broke down the fight live. and then it's up to your color after that, right? If they want to break down like the information, the intricacies of it.
The first time when we were talking about that Hemo playing in mid lane, Javi wasn't 6 at that point. I was thinking this is a little bit rushed. Javi needs to hit 6 first.
Okay, yeah. See, this is my point. Here, I'm having to, in post, explain why Javi was like in a bad position because he didn't have Moonfall. That should have been done beforehand.
On repeat,
well, it's also like you can,
and if they keep this up here, we're gonna start seeing 2 level differences coming in some of the lanes. The bright shine.
So I like that. Okay, so that point right there. Normally, you would go off on a tangent. Like back when we first started casting, you would have gone off on a tangent on Javi, but instead you wrapped it up, and then I want to say like a 3-second sentence, right? That's actually really good, and I don't think that's bad. That type of wrap up is what I'm talking about, right? You brought up the point and then closed out very, very quickly because the moment's already passed, right? The further along the point has been, or the further along since that initial period, the shorter that explanation has to get, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not going to call it up, and then at some point, I would say about maybe 10 to 15 seconds after the fight, you're just not going to bring it up anymore. It's dead weight. We can bring up he's going to have trouble, but not call back to that specific time. So I think you were fine. Like, it can be done before and after a team fight. There's no problem with that. It's the length of time you take to commit to bringing that point up.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. Yeah, and I think I was trying to wrap it up fast because I have another point here, and let me see how long I go with this one. Because
despite dying early, despite being down 2 kills, has sat in the mid lane and soaked up experience, so he's actually up levels, which is more important for this Vladimir right now.
Okay, good. I didn't go
it's not
too
so
long.
much that they lose the early game. It's how gracefully can they lose it, right? So far, not so gracefully. It's rough to say, but it's true. It's not
I hate my
point
interjection.
that I made.
Able to maintain at least the CS.
What?
I don't know why it rolled off the tongue so well, but it did.
Which part? Sorry?
I just, the point is to lose gracefully, and I said, unfortunately, not so gracefully. And I was just like, it's a little bit of a jab, but it's true. 6-1 at 9 minutes, you lose a dragon, you're down about 2.5k. I'm pretty confident it's not a terrible point to make, right?
No,
so
it is very valid. Yeah, it is.
Can they lose it, right? Not so gracefully.
Oh, I think I muttered it.
Remember, it's not so much.
Wait, really? You muttered it too?
Early game. It's how gracefully can they lose it, right? So far, not so gracefully.
Yeah, you did. You motherfucker! I thought you were laughing and chuckling at it. No, you said it. God damn it!
Those levels bode well for them. And
I don't know why I'm so soft there though. That's weird.
Constantly invading. You're gonna have to do that a few more times.
That's so funny.
I
didn't even hear you say that.
Tries to force access out of that.
I just said it because it made sense, right?
Yeah, it wasn't.
That makes that moment so much better. We are that in sync together, RNC. We are that in sync with each other.
Hey.
That was really funny though.
We're casting quite a few seasons together now.
Yeah.
I don't know, like 6.
Oh no.
Yeah, this solo.
Okay, wait. Yeah, I think I was. What was I talking about?
No, I was talking. I think.
Best lane performing player right now, so I don't think the Renekton's got a great chance at pushing out this Wukong right now. As Wukong levels up, he gets some armor. I'm more curious as to how
Jump in,
are gonna play this
has
out
to
right
clear
now.
the
They're
wave.
focusing very heavily on kills, on jungle pressure, but they've not converted that into objectives. Herald has been up for almost 2 minutes now, hasn't been taken. Dragon was
no.
Oh, I wasn't even watching this, dude. I was like, you can tell like I had no clue that was happening. I'm like talking about Herald, I'm talking about Dragon, and freaking Harmony's dead. Like, what the?
Well, I actually like that as well, because to me it exemplified the point that happened almost out of nowhere, right?
It did though. Did it?
it kind of did. I dislike the fact that you ran on after that.
Yeah.
Kill, right? That's the point. It's okay to keep running in because again, we don't actually know if they are going to die or not. That's something that we do have to kind of decide on the fly. But here, so it happens.
Oh no.
That's yeah, Vladimir goodbye. And Javi can't.
No, so you did point it out. That's
rough to see.
After he was dead.
Emphasis on it. You know, I mentioned it in Champions Select when I saw the ghost for Harmony.
Like literally, it was like the death thing pops on. I'm just like, okay, well, yeah, he's dead. Like,
yeah,
yeah, that was my bad.
Maybe a bit more emphasis on that. Maybe just a bit because it was a solo kill specifically. If it was one, and this is something a lot of casters say, which I do agree with, is if well, I don't know if a lot of people say it, but I do, and I think 3 or 4 others that I have talked to, it's if you can see a kill coming a mile away, you don't have to hype it up,
Mhm.
right? If the setup's there for so long, that's fine. If it had been a kill and we saw the assist come out from Castle, we would have been, okay, it's a routine kill. That we can kind of glance over because the lane's lost, right? But it was a solo kill. That's what made it so interesting and something that we need to look forward to, because this really solidified that Mark Boots is in the lead, right?
Yeah.
That was the only thing. And
Hasn't been taken.
again,
Let's see,
he did
that's
point it
not
out,
good.
which is fine.
That's yeah, Vladimir, goodbye. And Javi can't get in range either. Nomnut roaming down. That's rough to see. A solo.
No. So you did point it out, right?
Yeah,
you
Vladimir,
kind
goodbye.
of
And Javi
leaned into
can't
it
get in range either.
that
Nomnut roaming down.
it
That's
it did cut off your point pretty quickly, but I think you did fine with it for what it was. For what it was.
Yeah, I think I could have wrapped that a little bit quicker, but I think more than that, what kind of sold it to was that you didn't try and force, like, you didn't run me over in that case. You just kind of went, like, you just let me go, oh, well, that happened. Okay. And then finish my point. And, like, the fact that you didn't try and blow it up, considering that I already vastly missed the mark there, makes it just kind of like, okay, yeah, well, that's going to keep happening, sort of feeling.
Yeah, and that's something that I also personally hate to do. I hate it so much because you disrupt the flow of the entire broadcast. You know, I said this in one of my tweets or whatever. I said this, it was one of my big things. Stop running your co-caster over, right? Like, it doesn't sound good. I understand if a person's monologuing, it's frustrating. But in the broadcast, it sounds terrible because for a split 3 to 5 seconds, you are talking over each other. It doesn't sound good on broadcast. And so it's like, no matter what happens, if a fight breaks out, you completely blank and you're just talking, I'm still not going to take over, right? I'll pick up in the middle of the fight if I have to. But I hate hearing people. So I will never do it. Never. Or at least I try not to, right? I will never try to run someone over intentionally, because I feel that takes away from their remark and it takes away from their casting, right? Like, it turned into that. It did turn into that kind of throwaway. Harmony's like, oh yeah, he's dead again. Like, this is gonna happen, and I like we played into that. It's still, I don't care if you monologue. I don't care if anyone monologues. Just don't run them over for it. Like,
I will say, like, and I think I've told you this before. So I tell most casters I work with the first time, like, if I don't shut up and the fight's like actively breaking out, run me over. But like, I think for short plays like this, when, you know, like, it's already over. Like, by the time you can respond, by the time like we notice that, hey, wait, I didn't see it, like, I got caught by surprise, it's literally over. Harmony's dead. And I think if that's the case, then yeah, definitely don't bother trying to cut your color off, because by the time you successfully do that, Harmony's already been dead for like 5 seconds at that point. There's like, literally nothing to go back to.
Yeah. Well, another thing that I feel is a lot of the time if I run someone over, instead of feeling like they messed up, which I think is a good feeling to have on broadcast, right? When you know you messed up, you know it yourself, right? If I run you over, it's not so much, hey, I messed up. It's, oh, he's wanting his time to shine, or he wants more airtime, something like that, right? And to me, that creates friction in the broadcast. It creates this point of conflict where it almost feels like you two are not two casters or two almost like friends talking about a game. It's two casters wanting the limelight, right? And there is no singular limelight in a broadcast unless you're a streamer and you're the only person in the game and only one on the stream. There's no solo broadcast. There is no such thing as a solo person in the spotlight. There are two casters, and you are working to make the entire broadcast together. So I would, again, yes, if you run into the team fight, it's not good, right? Like, don't talk halfway through a team fight. But it's much easier to point out that you ran through an entire team fight if I let you peter out on your own, right? Like, if I let you kind of stall out on your own and you pass it on your own volition and I pick it up, I always feel like people understand more that, hey, that probably wasn't supposed to happen, because you realize how you sound and look, and you kind of can combine the two, right?
I like that idea.
And it's also, I can go back and be like, yo, did you have trouble passing? Because sometimes it is. It's just a trouble of passing off the mic, and you're trying to do that as well, and you stumble. So at that point, it's not like you're intentionally running over the team fight. It's you just had a little bit of a speed bump in that path, so we can fix it from there. That's why I personally, even if someone tells me run me over, cut me off, whatever, I will personally never do that. It's just I feel it breeds too much friction. Some casters can do it, and especially I will say this. If you are in person, you can cut each other off. Why? Because more than likely you are tapping the person. You are letting them know, hey, let me talk. Or hey, this is my time to talk. You are physically letting them know that people don't see.
Yeah.
But I can't physically touch you while on, that sounds bad. I can't physically let you know right now that I want to talk. That I can't do that. So I don't run you over.
What is with this? Running me over, cutting me, touching me. Come on, Orbital.
Yeah, this is sounding like a terrible intro to BDSM. That's what it sounds like. But yeah, it's just like, I don't know. That's why I will never do it. And that's also why I like casting with you, because you also cut off very quickly. Like, you know where the points are, and I think that's awesome.
I try. There's still usually if I have to do a hard cut, I probably screwed up in that I didn't expect the fight where it was coming. Because if I
that's true. That is true. There are points where I've noticed.
Yeah, that like and I've had play-by-plays tell me, hey, like that was awkward the first time it happens, because they're not expecting me to just like hard cut in the middle of a sentence, but it's like, and that sort of thing. Like, you're used to me doing that, but like when I work with some other play-by-plays, they're not, because it's not a smooth way to do it. But that's what happens when I'm not prepared for a fight. Like, it just comes out of nowhere. Kind of like the bot lane first blood, right? Like, that one kind of came out of nowhere. Hook just landed arbitrarily, and there was a kill. And yeah, I kind of choke off a little bit. But yeah, I love the fact that you bring out that this is because we're doing remote casting. We can't like get each other's attention physically. It relies a lot on verbal cues, on audio cues. If you're lucky and you've got the camera open, maybe you can use visual cues. But odds are, if I'm not seeing a fight breaking out on screen, I'm not going to be watching you anyways. So yeah. The other thing too, I think is important to note is, I like the idea that you don't want to run anybody over, and I think it works when your co-caster has a certain level of proficiency. If I can't even recognize that a fight has started out, or like literally if my camera, and this happens sometimes with directed camera, is when my directed camera is looking at something different from everybody else's directed camera, or vice versa. Sometimes it happens where for some strange reason, the cameras get desynced, and I might literally not realize the fight's happening until somebody dies. And in that case, then yeah, that becomes a problem. Or if the caster is not aware enough, and they just, then I think at that point, like as a play-by-play, that's when you got to make the hard call and kind of go like, well, yeah. Like, you just kind of have to say, okay, you know what? Like, you're not experienced enough, or you don't seem to be getting the idea that you're missing the fight. And then you just run them over. And that's it. The other thing too, which I think I'm really bad at, but I want to try working on it, but it's hard to when you're working with random duos, is the idea of letting the color caster kind of take the beginnings of the fights. That's something I really do very, very poorly, but it's something that, maybe in future cast Orbital, when we're working on it, we can kind of just work on that. And yeah, I might be able to transition into some of the fights a little bit more effectively.
Yeah. There's a lot to be said. It's always, again, it comes down to how you as a caster work with each other. Yeah. So there's a whole thing behind that too. I don't know if you want to keep talking about that.
Yeah, that's right. We're only 10 minutes into the game right now.
I saw the ghosts for Harmony. It should be a podcast where we always just like drunk review our casts. Like, that would be hilarious.
Honestly, I'm only letting us go this slowly because it's the first time, and because it's like,
damage is still gonna come through, and
I'm only doing one game with you, I think, with this.
Solo kill in mid lane.
We talk too much in general. It's just like, this is getting bad.
Dominus use as well.
It's fine. I think it's good discussion.
D0Mcasts and Axum not enjoy that flash to follow in, and D0Mcasts, the Croc wins the 1v1 on top.
I think that was a good transition on your part. From talking about ghosts.
We didn't mention it too much, but Axum was the one who went in, looked for that aggressive.
I know how to connect sentences together.
Okay, I will say, I love that you trust me. Like, that whole bottom fight, I have worked with a lot of play-by-plays who will cut me off thinking that there's going to be action in this bot lane, and there's no kill threat here. Like, Blueberry, I don't care if Jiggity lands death sentences of all death sentences. It has to be on nutty bars, and even then, I don't think you kill him under turret. So, like, this is one of those situations, there's no kill threat, and I get cut off so much here by play-by-plays because they're like, oh, there's action bot. You're not talking about it. Yeah, because there's nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Health before the dominance
Being
box?
able to read
That's
the
not a good
game
fight
is
right now, and
such a
suddenly
big
that
thing.
top lane, the one
It is.
bastion lane that they had.
That's why I
Why
hate it when
not
people are
a
like,
lot.
oh,
With that,
me play-by-play,
time
me
to go for
small
that arrow,
brain,
if
me
they
don't
add
know
up,
what's happening. It's like,
that's
no,
when I
shut
think
up, man.
it's
Like,
really snowball here, Orbital.
if you're that bad, then I don't want to work with you.
And the best part,
Yeah.
both top and bot side are prepped.
Like,
for
you
Herald to
have
take
a
for all
brain. You
5
understand the
right? For
game.
first
You have
tower
to.
and plate, 3 less on the top side. I think that's more
There's
like 2.5
so
bot
much
side.
to it.
With 3 members, you can easily pressure it down. Cloud Drake coming after the ocean, which means it's going to be a mountain or infernal. Harmony, of course, stepping up once again immediately
Okay.
into the pool.
We probably should have saved that cloud after ocean. Like, we should have said it
What?
when it spawned.
Oh,
like-
that cloud?
You can
No,
easily pressure it
so
down.
you say,
Cloud Drake coming after the ocean, which means it's going to be a mountain or infernal.
when you're saying like Cloud Drake after ocean, therefore Soul is going to be mountain or infernal.
Oh, right.
I feel like that point should be saved for like when there's nothing happening on the map or when they took the first dragon.
Agreed.
Because like it feels super
Definitely
random
agreed.
here. Like
Yeah, see, this is what I'm talking about. I do this every so often. I try not to.
yeah, it's just okay. What were you talking before that? Like,
Side, I think that's more like 2.5.
what were you saying before that?
Both
Hold
top
on.
and bot side are prepped for Herald to take for all 5 plates, right? For first tower and plate, 3 less on the top side. I think that's
Oh, this
more
is
like
good.
2.5 bot side. With 3 members, you can easily pressure it down. Cloud Drake coming after.
Oh my. Okay, yeah. So it's like it's such a good point about they take Herald and all their lanes are set up to take the first turret. Like they can drop it anywhere and they can pretty much take first turret.
And I talk about trying.
And then you talk about. It's a weird pivot.
So my brain was thinking about Rift Herald, and it jumped to global objective, and then it jumped to dragon because I saw it, I think, in the top left portion of my screen, and then jumped into what it was. And welcome to my brain.
Fair enough. Okay. I mean, hey, we're here to.
It's not a good
look
one.
at
No,
look-
it's
no.
correct
Yeah.
to point out that that was a really bad point to make.
Yeah.
I have no excuse except for that.
To me, the reason why it caught my eye immediately was because you broke 3 of my rules immediately. The first one is that there's potential for action, and we should always be looking at that. Like you can see Jiggity roaming up, so that should have been the talk about this collapse on Harmony potentially. The second one was that you just pivoted, you just changed points, and that's a taboo because I do it all the time, and I hate myself when I do it. Which is you already had your time talking about a great thing, and then you're pivoting your dragon somewhat randomly because there's no pressure on it. And thirdly, there's no pressure. There's no setup for it right now. Blueberry's back at base. Hobby's on the wrong side of the map. And because of where Jiggity is, there's no way for them to cut into the dragon pit. So it's like that. And then the fact that you decided to talk about the soul too was what made me laugh. But okay, yeah.
No, I agree. It was one of my weirder ones. Like I sometimes say those in like passing. Right, it's a passing comment. I don't leave much on there.
It's a status check. Like that's how I think of it.
Kind
Right?
of is.
Yeah.
It's I will be completely honest. It's also me fishing for time. I will wholeheartedly agree to that. It's the point where I realize that I am stuck in a little bit of a limbo situation. Right. Currently, I've talked for too long. That is something that has already been noticed. Because action is about to occur. I can see the prep coming. Jiggity's in mid, right? Prep is there already. And I've already run on too long. So if I pass it to you now, you would have to cast over the fight. And it would feel irregular to have the color caster out of nowhere cover a fight at that point. Or cover what's going to happen. So those are my 2 intersections. So lesser of 2 evils would be find a little bit of cover time. Just a random fact, whatever. Something to stop that point. Because at that point, I should be able to immediately hop into the team fight and just pray my color caster doesn't like punch me later for it.
I will say the transition was smooth. That was originally what caught my eye was this transition, and I was like, wait, your transition came from a weird topic, but the transition itself was good. And I guess that goes back to what I was saying earlier, where maybe next season or the next time we cast together, we can try like here just throw it to me and. If the fight breaks up right away, if I don't actually have time to set up, because I don't think, like, based on where we are right now, I don't actually think they're going to pull the trigger for about maybe 3 seconds. If Harmony steps up, they pull the trigger. But if not, they've got maybe 3 to 5 seconds. And I can take the beginning of the action. And in a situation like this, I'm assuming what would kick it off would either be a chain from LeBlanc or hook from Thresh, and it'd just be like, okay. And you can see Jiggity's waiting in the bush, you know, going for this gank here. Harmony, no vision, doesn't know it's coming, and the hook lands or the chain connects. And I'll just like, you know, spike my volume and then throw over.
Yeah, it would work. It would definitely work. It's just, again, it's mostly, again, this is one of the situations that occurred because I didn't shut up. That's the way I see it. Because even then, it would, again, the flow, the speech pattern that we'd have, it would go from a lot of me talking to about 2 seconds of you to me again. And it feels like it would break the tempo in there for some reason. And again, the whole thing is I shouldn't have been that far into that dialogue to begin with, right? And so I'm doing damage control. We could definitely try it, and I'm very interested to see if it would work, but I'm not, like, you should have been talking about all the points that I just brought up. That's what I feel like. Like, that's a topic I should have easily been able to pass, and you easily could have covered all of that.
No. I loved your hero points, and I love it when my play-by-play brings these big points to the table as well. Well, with the caveat, as long as you're not like eating up all my airtime, but you weren't there, right? Like I've had my time to talk. I went over 30 seconds twice already this game. I actually do time myself sometimes, just to see, because 30 seconds is like my rough benchmark where I don't like to talk for more than 30 seconds, or like 35 is fine. But you know, roughly, if I'm doing more than that, I'm probably monologuing. And I monologued multiple times this game. So for you to take that point, I think it's perfectly fine. I'm perfectly happy to do that. And in regards like the weird tempo shift, like doing short tempos, I can't remember who I was talking to the other day. Was it DJ or Necroxen about how like when you throw back and forth, like it speeds up the tempo of your cast. And I think it might be a little like jarring in a way, but the action too would also feel jarring. Like if I don't have the time to explain that what might be happening in 5 seconds, then I think a spike in the tempo, like that sort of shift back and forth really quickly, feels appropriate, because then it feels sudden too, and it gives you like a good platform, because you're already like we that should spike us from like say a 3 or a 4 energy wise up to like a 6 or 7, just because the pacing of that back and forth.
Yeah, I could definitely excuse me. I could definitely see that. And
yeah, we can try next time.
Yeah,
I'd be very
for sure,
interested.
for sure. All right.
For the ocean, it's gonna be a mountain or
3 seconds.
Harmony,
roughly.
of course, stepping up once again immediately into the pool. Gonna dodge out on double chains, but Jiggity still says, let's fight it out. Level 5, though, doesn't have the box. Finally hits level 6. That's gonna be a follow-through, in Harmony he's about a quarter damage.
Something's wrong with my pickup. Like when I'm interjecting, I can't understand what I'm saying. It's so muffled.
Afford to go aggressive.
And then when I talk, it's fine.
Back anyway, so what he's trying to do is burn health, burn mana on this particular play, and he got hemo.
I think there's like a priority setting on the Discord if it's two people talking, right?
Maybe, I have no clue.
Maximize plate gains right now.
I could barely get the stream started, man. Discord settings, what are those?
Yeah, I know, right?
Wildcard, to at least make sure they don't outright lose that turret.
Yeah, and with no vision for either squad.
I've
also tried a lot of the time giving dead air in between some of our points.
Cloud. You don't have to worry too much.
And that
the question
adds
is, getting
a
back
little
into this
bit
game
of
is going to be so
opening.
difficult, right? This late game scaling team has 0 winning lanes, and with an Infernal Soul to come up, that means the early game team is going to accelerate this game at a rapid pace. Mid lane, still seeing them duke it out. Wildcard playing off the back foot at minute 13. Apparently, the right.
Yeah, I'm really bad with dead air. Like I don't feel comfortable with me giving dead air. I do appreciate that sometimes like you do that, and I do like it. And I wonder if it's also just because of our roles to a certain extent. Like I can go in depth, and then you need a topic change, so your dead air is comfortable there. Whereas like I feel like most of the time I'm bouncing off something that you brought up. So if I did air and then bounce, it's like.
I think
weird?
Dead air for color casters should usually be used after a big team fight, right? Letting the feeling kind of sink in there. For a play-by-play, it's also used as a transition factor, right? Once the color caster is done with their point, if we feel like we need a hard pivot to another area, that's where we do the dead air. But for color casters, it's straight up like allowing for the impact of a team fight to go through. So if there's a massive 5-0 wipe, you know, it's a big wombo combo, you can take like 2 seconds, let it sink in for the audience, like what just occurred on their screen, and then hop in with your point, because it's still fresh in their mind at that point, I think. You know, one of those big moments is still even going to be felt on the game itself, right? Huge 5-man, 5-0, whatever. the teams are still kind of collecting themselves. We still see the death timers on a lot of the champions, so we have time to play with.
Okay, yeah. The next big team fight where we see that happen, I want to think about it, because usually I know for myself after a big team fight, I'm riding the high from the play-by-play. Like, because I am generally more high energy as a color caster, so it's like when a big play happens, like, and Yarrow hyped at the end of it, you know, you're making a big call, and I'm riding that hype into the next like little while. So yeah, that might be wrong. Let's yeah, the next fight I'll take a look and see what I did exactly with the energy from that. But we should probably move on. I know that you've got a cast in like an hour.
No. I still have like a good extra hour and a half. I think.
Oh, okay.
Before I have to go on.
You can't afford to give up.
Yeah, after those games, I'm good, and I can keep going.
So. Come through from Javi, and we've seen this problem before. When Javi falls behind, he needs to farm, and he stops ganking his lanes. And this game, I can't fault him. He doesn't have a single lane to go through. Look at their items here. Nutty Bars on a Cull and a Noon Quiver. This is not a lane that can fight. And Castle is set up for a dive.
Oh yeah, when you don't have a mythic yet, you are going to take that pinch. Castle though, eating a lot of early damage. That's going to be the Heartbreaker breaking it in Harmony, pulling the TP, but can they get much more? Jiggity is going to be able to get out of harm's way, but still going to die to Harmony. And now the party is made. Make it 3 dead for 1. Bot lane for OG. Run the map.
There's your counter again. 3 dead for 1.
I know. See, I told you I use it as an out, and it's so bad.
I think it's still appropriate here though, because when you say that, like they're almost about to spawn, so it's okay here, but I think this is probably the last fight this game where it's going to be appropriate.
Yeah.
I did like the energy that you got into that fight. Yeah, I was a little bit late to call out the castle coming in, but I did manage to squeeze that in time.
I think it was still in time though, right?
Yeah,
like you
just
didn't
barely.
cut into the fight or anything.
No, yeah, just barely, and then we managed to transition well. I liked my interjections in that. Like it gave energy. I also, yeah, now that I think about it, I barely interjected in the last couple of fights, which is. As a hype man, I'm a terrible color caster.
It's okay.
Oh shoot, no. Okay. Oh frick me.
It's a 6.8.
I tried to hit the pause, and then I
missed. Now gonna get chanced on, but it's a very healthy Croc. He has Gore Drinker. He's gonna be fine.
Yeah, I mean, no dominance, but that's coming up not too long from now, roughly maybe about.
Are we just gonna watch this one?
Oh
wait, yeah.
This is just like maybe about a minute after that bot fight.
I mean, Innominate's gonna be fine. You see him walking the wave, knew exactly what's going on because they see the gym.
I'm mad I cut you off right here.
Dangerous. Innominate almost gets.
He walked away.
Yeah, I was super mad I cut you off.
Now, roughly maybe about 20-30 seconds. I'm Javi though, potentially looking for his first gank with ultimate. No,
yeah.
He walked away.
Yeah, I mean, Innominate's gonna be fine. You see him walking the
you
wave
off
right
there.
there.
Okay, yeah.
Javi though, potentially looking for
Like
his
it
first
was
gank
somewhat
with
of a pass. Like I thought I could get in with the joke,
Innominate's
and then
gonna be fine. You see him walking
So
the
I
wave.
was hoping to drop a joke and then back right out to break up kind of the to break up the steady tempo that we had already.
Huge dividend.
But they broke out in a fight, and I ran with it, and I was like, "Fuck, that was a terrible intro to it right there." It makes sense as well, but it's also just like it wasn't good. It wasn't what I wanted it to be.
I think that's fair. That's one of those remote things, and it's my fault too. Like with the way I laughed, like so I have a very specific speech pattern when I'm casting, and I think you probably noticed that you cast a lot with me. But like when I'm talking to people normally versus like when I'm casting, my speech pattern is very, very different. So when I'm casting, for example, yeah, like that laugh is normally where I would break. And yeah, so it's my fault for doing that. I probably should have been more conscious that like that would suggest to you that I'm kind of done my point because I already made the joke. I'm laughing, ha ha ha.
Well,
like,
it's not so much that. It's the fact that, like I said, I try and pop jokes in every so often, or I'm trying to now, to give like a bit more interaction and discussion. Because again, I know like we like to talk a lot and we like to go on our points. So sometimes just like quick interjection and then I back right out and you keep going with your point. It kind of breaks that tension, or not the tension, the steady flow, and it perks
the monotony
ears back up. Yeah. Because again, it's the same thing with writing, right? You don't want to write multiple sentences in a row that have 7 to 8 letters in each one. You want really, really wide variety, and it's the same thing, the speech pattern, because experience, they get used to it, and then they tune it out. So we have to bring something, and I was like, I can do that here. Nope. Just
It's fine. I think it was very, very minor. And with, yeah, I think it was fine. Like, honestly, if you didn't point that out, I might have missed it anyways, because, yeah.
Yeah, we cover it really well, but it's just, it was one of the things that's always irked me. Yeah. I'll be right back.
Sure. Yeah, this is our first time doing this, and we are taking way, way too long. I need to think about formatting here. I think we might have to put like sort of a focus on what we want to look at during the VOD review, and then focus on that a little bit. The side discussions are really fun. I'm loving it, but it is dragging quite a bit. We're 15 minutes into this, and the stream's been running for how long now? An hour 35. Holy. Oh, good things to remember here.
I think we would do good to have a general, a very general, enjoyable podcast with us all drunk, and then we keep going. These are things I've always wanted to talk about and just never gotten the chance to. So
yeah,
it's like, I'm seeing it now.
No. Like that's why I don't know if you heard me talking while you're.
Oh, I did. I had my headphones on.
Okay,
I heard you call me a piece of shit. You know.
A piece of? Come on, bro. It's a metric ton.
Right?
I mean, they call it a metric crap ton for a reason. No, okay. But I think like, I think format wise, and this is off the VOD at this point, but I think we should like next time focus on doing the VOD first, and then like keep these discussion points for like after the VODs.
Oh, 100%.
And then like run it that way, like people have to leave or anything, because like I was saying, we're an hour 30 into this. We're only 50 minutes into the game.
And we're only 50. To be fair, these games were kind of short.
Were they? I honestly don't remember the games.
It was a 3-0 stomp, and it was pretty crushing.
After I cast, I have zero short-term memory after a cast. Like I will cast the game and not remember what just happened in it, like half an hour after. So yeah, it gets bad. Like when I have to do, because I do the impact for Proving Grounds, like short form videos on YouTube. Go check it out. It's on AOE Sports for anybody watching. Yeah, like so I have, even if I cast one of the PG games, I actually have to rewatch it in order to prep for the recording, because I don't remember what happened in the game that I cast. Yeah, it's terrible.
It depends on the person. It depends on how you do it. I've done the same, but also if I hear and remember a little bit and like watch some of these games, I kind of get a good remembrance.
Yeah.
And I get like a very vague understanding. Like I remember these games, I think only game 2 was one of the closer ones, and then game 3 was pretty much OG taking it home. So
I don't remember it all. Like I will, when I'm watching the games, I'll get a sense of deja vu. Like I'll know what's coming. I'll be like, wait, something happened really bad here. Like, but I won't remember it till it's like almost there. Okay, 15 minutes. Let's go. Even if it's short, it's still taking a while.
Might have something else to say, but 357 with that big buff shield is going to protect his jungler.
Okay, there we go. So first gank successful coming through from Javi here post Moonfall. That's what they need.
Is that his first gank?
When you're this far down,
yeah, it was really bad.
Just look at the objectives, right?
That call was great, but the point was made, and it definitely was his first, like, it was his first game.
Because if, yes, you want to scale, but
that
it's
is
not
brutal.
working. Mark Boots is playing with fire.
This was good.
Well, Harmony's actually doing okay in that trade. I don't know if you saw, but Mark Boots took an empowered Q to the face. So he wasn't really allowed to try anything there. If there's one thing you don't want to do against a Vladimir, it's walk in when he has one of his stronger abilities up. We're going to see the gank come out on Axum, though, straight into the root. A great combination play. They know the clone's out, so might as well follow through. Heartbreaker isn't going to get the slow, but a follow through with the Gale Force is going to allow Blueberry to pick up an assist.
I just feel really bad for Axum right now. His lane was the one lane that wasn't really losing, and then suddenly you don't get to farm, your turret's gone down, and his turret just went down as well. I want to point that out, that Innominate just took it on that wave, so Axum...
Oh, no!
Ignite!
Just barely got the he's gonna roll! No, I knew that was gonna happen. No, Innominate. Oh, come on, that was the outplay potential. Innominate shuts that down right quick. It was...
I like that banter between us. I will say I really like that between us. Because we were like holding our breath. Is he gonna die? Is he going to die? And then Nominate comes out of nowhere.
I feel like that entire series of events started like with that top lane fight, actually.
Yeah.
And I will say I enjoyed it. I think what we did was good. From a technical point of view, it was not good. But from like an actual point of view, I think it went well. So like going back to that top fight with even before this, it was the Braum, big buff Braum shield.
Call might have something else to say,
like
but
that call.
357 with that big buff shield is going to protect his jungler.
Oh, it's been better to say big buff Braum shield.
Successful coming through.
Alliteration.
Javi here post Moonfall. And that's what they need to do at this point when you're this far down in the hole, and
let's not even look at the goal. Just look at the objectives, right? You've got none of the objectives. Okay, that's the problem right there. Calling Javi's first gank good, successful, is good. But I shouldn't have been talking about objective control. I need to talk about this turret. Because the fact that Blueberry can get this turret alone, and then everybody's rotating after that gangbang in the top lane to the mid lane, like, that is the problem. There's 2 dragons. From a technical point of view. At that point, 10 kills for the side of Wildcard. You just pull the trigger. You try and force plays, because if yes, you want to scale, but it's not working. Mark Boots is playing with fire.
I just thought of this. This whole entire engage gave enough time for Renekton to run bot midway and then rotate up. Or he actually took the
walk.
Because
I
thought this was like split second in
between.
between. This
straight
was
into the root. A great combination play. They know the clone's out, so might as well follow through. Heartbreaker isn't going to get the slow, but a follow through with the Gale Force is going to allow Blueberry to pick up an assist.
Yeah, so I said the rotating mid. I was wrong there on the call. That means I've been wrong no matter what freaking call I made real time. But yeah, like, instead of talking about the objective stuff, if I had set up for like, oh, you know, what's his face, Castle stayed top, you know, that they're gonna ambush Axum, or Jiggity and Mark Boots are going mid, they're looking for Harmony, then it's smoother. His lane was the one. But yeah, I like the banter we had here. And then suddenly you don't get to farm, your turret's gone down, and his turret just went down as well. I want to point that out. That's why I had to talk about that again, and because of that, I missed this.
Ignite. Just barely got the heal. Oh, come on, that was the output.
You're incoherent, basically.
It was so close.
I know, it's so good. Yeah, that's what I said. Like, it's good from a like, viewer point of view.
I think I could have baited the words a bit better, but
that just sprung to mind.
I definitely think if I went like ham right there, it would have been bad.
What do you mean baited the words?
So instead of like just dropping dead silent, you can be like, oh, or, you know, like giving a bit more emphasis to the fact that literally Harmony almost died.
No, man, I love the dead silence. The dead silence was so good. Like,
it was like one of those moments where like I'm grabbing on the shoulder. Is he gonna do it? Is he gonna live?
Yeah, like, okay, let's watch this in real time. Like, not 1.25.
All right.
What the frick did I just do?
You just sent it straight back to the beginning.
Just took it on that wave, so Axum.
Oh no!
Ignite!
Just barely got the heal.
Yeah, because it makes the impact from one more feel that much more, like, because it's dead silence. And then one more, like, if you had gone like, oh, it's like it doesn't. The impact from one more is not as strong. I really love that silence there. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, like I said, I screwed up again because I'm talking about turrets, and then that happens. I'm like, damn it.
Okay, I don't think you have to set up everything.
No, but you had to cut me off, right? And the cutoff was good. Like, here.
No. This is just me amping it. And again, I just try and like make noises to let people know.
Yeah. No, like, but that Ono was so good. Like,
come on, that was the output.
Like, you shouldn't have had to go oh no over me, but it was like, it was good from your part, but it's just a bit of an error on my side. Yeah, and it came from that first turret not being talked about earlier.
Well, I don't think it's...
Oh, not this.
Sprung to mind when I watched mAAd go in there. Just when you thought you were safe, just as you unclenched from the ignite, and suddenly springs out of nowhere, flashes, slices, dices. Ooh, boy, that's brutal. And by now, it's got to be in Wildcard's back of your mind that nowhere is safe.
So the thing is so if we go back to the original start of that fight where Harmony died, right? Or Harmony was about to die, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just before this. This is something that this is the only time I think I will hard disagree with you on about the fact that this is a bad technical call. Because of the fact that we haven't seen Mark Boots be able to 100-0 Harmony from before, we don't get the information that one chain is actually going to be his death, right? That's not something that we know off the top of our head. If we know it's off the top of our head, if we already knew that Mark Boots had basically stat checked him before, we'd have a bit more info. But the initial chain itself did, I want to say, less than 10% of his HP, right? Roll the clip real quick.
I'm rolling halftime, by the way. I sound drunk.
It's okay. So keep watching this, and you'll see what I mean. So the first chain actually hits, and it does. So he goes in, lands a chain, right?
Yeah.
That's it. I thought this was chip damage, right? He throws the second. You see how it does almost no damage? What really procs it is that right there. That's where the kill potential comes through. So I think you had every right. Personally, I think you had every right to not call it until we saw that exchange go. And when it did, you immediately snapped onto it, which I think is the proper call.
Okay. Yeah. Agree to disagree. I do think, now watching in slow-mo, I didn't have that much opportunity or that much time, but I still ran over. Like the moment the sigil of Mal was hit, like you said, that was the moment where like all of a sudden it's like, oh, there actually is kill potential here.
Yes, I can agree with that.
Yeah, and I still like it was your oh no that kind of transition, which is
But to say that it went all the way back to the tower, I personally think you did fine.
True.
The points were fine. Just That's it. Sorry.
I mean, we still should have talked about the turret. Like me having to talk about it here is less than ideal. But yeah, it wasn't the root cause of that particular issue.
Yeah, I think it was a good call. It definitely did feel awkward because we were both. That was the first stat check of the whole game. We were like, what?
Okay, I have a friend in New York who just sent me a GIF a couple of weeks ago about Crocs.
I hate that you said GIF.
That just
is it a GIF? Is it a GIF?
It's GIF.
You were safe.
Is it? Okay.
Unclenched from the ignite,
okay.
just springs out of nowhere.
Technically, it's GIF because the creator said it's GIF, but everyone fucking says GIF. It's GIF. Fuck you.
And this was the day where the caster duo broke up. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, yeah.
Oh man.
Okay, yeah.
No, it's not a big thing. I just wanted to point that out because I want to make fun of you.
I probably honestly shouldn't have been talking about Gators coming up the toilet bowl. Dragons coming up in 30 seconds. That's so point. I don't know why. I don't remember why. I think it was funny, but
by now it's got to be the Wildcards.
It was because of Renekton coming out of nowhere because we had no idea Renekton was coming either. So I think it's a fair point to make. I think it was fair.
I heard you pull out, and I'm terrible.
It was just unexpected. Like you don't usually make jokes like that. But so when you said it, it caught me completely off guard where you're going.
They are
with that.
so close to breaking the 10K barrier difference here. Before 20 minutes, they know that they're on a timer. They're giving themselves plenty of room to breathe and are looking to take this game 1 in this best of 5 in style.
Yeah, and even as we saw Herald being taken by the side of Wildcard right here, OG's taking Dragon. And if you ask me what's more important at this point, Soul Point is more important, especially for Inferno Soul. Now, they do get spotted out here. Flash is available.
I almost thought it was going to be a double flash because 357 was like, it's not fast enough. I got to get out of this bit faster. But it's only one. Then the leap. Dragon goes down.
This is a good
facing Soul Point
a good part.
Minutes.
Like the Herald,
Wildcard
Dragon talking about both. Nice and short.
Painful choices to make, right? You now have to take a forced 50-50 chance at a Dragon or almost hope that OG give up the Dragon.
It's not 50-50.
And that really isn't any choice at all. Even if they do that, you're sitting on one Infernal stack. That's all you've got. And OG got...
Correct, but that's the only way I really know how to give that terminology.
Right now,
I was wondering if I'd call you out on 50-50, because sometimes it's a joke. I'm like, that's not 50-50. That's 90-10. Like, they aren't going to get it. Yeah. Like, there's a 10K gold lead you just spoke about.
The only question is, who do you want to
The only reason I say 50-50 is because technically it is, right? It's always if the jungler is able to get in, right? That's somehow saying that Javi makes it in with no problem, right? That's the 50-50. No chance here. No chance on OG side. But I say 50-50 because that's the only chance that Javi would actually have, right? There's no way they're going to win a fight. There's no way they're going to do any of that. So you have to find a way to get into the pit. So
yeah,
only reason I use 50-50, I would agree, should have been like 90-10 basically.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like sometimes depending on how like the flow of the game's going, like if I've got time, I might just joke about it's not a 50-50 actually. But I went with something else. I can't remember what I went with here.
Do you want to die?
Oh yes, that's what I went with.
Fight them, and that's what they need to start thinking about.
It's not a choice at all. It's the choice is where do you want to die, not how, not whether you die.
I like that line. I like that a lot.
That worked. Yeah, that's better actually.
See, that's the thing. I like how we make these comments.
That's not together. Instead, they find a 3-for-2.
Kind of have like a fun,
just
snappy
deletes
response.
Wu calling off.
I was talking too long again here, wasn't I?
But you gotta be grouping up. They don't.
I don't know what was I saying.
Barely, maybe. I don't think I expected the fight to break out here either.
You've got a chance, but you got to be together, and that's not together.
Yep, that's not together. Instead, they find a 3-for-2.
Yeah, because the fight hadn't fully broken out, and then when you cut off, they actually jumped in. I like that. I like that. Because if I had done it, I would have had to stall for a little longer. Which wouldn't have been fun.
Yeah,
that's
fine.
It wouldn't have been impossible, but I like this because the actual fight broke out
He wants
when
the
you called
Penta
it.
in game 1. Don't say it's Soul. Who's gonna steal it? Blueberry stole it. He didn't think he'd get it. He didn't think the final shot would do it. X9 report Blueberry because that would have been the Penta.
I hate that I said it backwards too. It's report X9.
I know.
Blueberry. I was like, it was going a mile a minute in my head, and I was like,
Yeah.
fuck.
But honestly, I thought that team fights calls were really solid. Like literally, the only thing better would have just been to add the word quadra kill in there. But you talked about the pentakill at the end of it. The fight itself was called clean. The energy ramp was really solid. Like the beginning of that fight. I mean, we came in slightly higher because also like it was.
A cyclone, moonfall.
Wait, let's see.
Want to group up either, so you've got a chance, but you got to be together, and that's not together.
Yep, that's not together. Instead, they find a 3v2. Castle just deletes.
Okay, you just
Blue
spiked to a
off the
7.
map. Harmony teleports straight into enemy fire, and this is going to be a split fight. Harmony doing his best to try and get something
Drop
back.
down
Double
to
kill
6.
for the Viego on the back end, but Harmony gets one. What more can they get in Nominate? Is literally a beastly take. The flash into the sun, triple kill for Castle. He wants the Penta in game 1. Don't say it's Soul. Who's going to steal it? Blueberry.
Yeah, I like the energy ramp. It's really good.
He didn't think the final shot would do it. X9 report Blueberry, because that would have been the Penta.
And then an immediate drop down to like 2 or 3.
Mark Boots was not there, so that
report Blueberry, because that would have been the Penta.
After, right there.
brutal to watch.
That wasn't like it wasn't that bad. Like it dropped down to a 6.
Well, no.
Okay.
I wanted to drop off that.
Oh,
point,
okay.
though,
You
right?
want to? Okay. Yeah.
Because I don't want to drag on, because sometimes that's what I did in the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have to close out that fight. I have to slowly. No. Drop the energy. Co-caster will pick up wherever they need to, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've already talked for my section. Leave. That's kind of the way I see it. So
Yeah. That's it. I mean,
that I think the closeout was good.
yeah. For the energy, like I think it's fine to end high, and it's my job to bring you back down. And I did drop us off a little bit as well.
You are over that 11K mark. They're at 11.2K gold advantage, and it's in the items as well. And we talk about the gold. Most of them have already spent it, right? Mark Boots straight up said, "I'm cool with just going straight up rabbit on second." I think that's crazy.
Okay. you asked Dom to toggle the gold. Then you talk about the items.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Items as well. And we talk about the gold. Most of them have already spent it, right? Mark Boots straight up said, "I'm cool with just going straight up rabbit on second." I think that's crazy.
Yeah, I messed up. I just like I wanted people to see the gold, and then it's also in the itemization, right? Like how much are they sitting on, kind of thing is what I was going for. It was horribly executed, terribly executed.
It's just funny to me that was the process.
Running in right here. Oh, there's gonna be a slaughter.
Yeah, Axum might have to sacrifice himself. Tried to do a sneaky decoy out, but Jiggity read it like a book. Castle is now god. Like, he is going to be hungry for every...
Honestly, I thought the energy on that was kind of backwards. Like, Axum getting caught didn't need an energy spike. He was screwed, like 3-man collapse. But then, like, when you're talking about Castle being godlike, I would have thought that's where the energy spike would come in. No?
It's more so the fact that was, like, the pinnacle of the fight, right? When people go godlike, I like to point it out. It's not really a highlight point to me.
Yeah,
right? It's a talking point. It's not the highlight of it.
Decoy out, but Jiggity read it like a book.
The reason that I say that is because it could have been a 2-0. Instead, it was a 1-0. So they were able to mitigate the problem.
Okay.
I do agree that I spiked a little bit too high, though. It's a basic kill, right? Axum got taken out. That's fine.
Like if he got out with the decoy, like
if he got out plus flash and like it was able to flash out, then it would have been big.
Yeah.
But godlike to me, I'm personally never worried about it. Why? Because godlike itself doesn't actually bring any value. It just states the scoreline, which we can state pretty much at any time, right? It just means they haven't died since their last couple of kills, but they're still very strong. We all know that.
So last couple, that's like what, 6 kills to get legendary?
Yes, but at the same time, in this regard, it'd almost be surprising if he wasn't godlike or legendary, right? They're 19-4, 21 minutes. I would definitely hype up if they were legendary or godlike if the team is losing or somewhat losing and all their eggs are in a single basket, right?
Okay.
It's the ADC. ADC is freaking godlike. I just lost everything. Shit. Excuse me.
Please don't die.
Yeah, I know, right? It'd be like the point where it's like they're almost winning team fights, but it's so close because of their ADC, right? And they go godlike in this fight. The only player to live for so long and not die playing an immaculate game, right? It's not the main point. it's an adjective, it's an extra piece of information that we tack on to the broader subject. And in this point, they're already ahead. I can't really segue it into anything because yeah, you're godlike. You're doing really well. I hope you are. You're 19-4, right? Like if you weren't doing well, I'd be very, very surprised.
True.
So that's my thought process.
Yeah.
Behind not hyping it up. I will always state it though. I will always try and state it.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, to me, I guess. Okay, so, we're gonna go on another tangent. Do you have time for tangent, or should we just finish it? Let's finish this first, and then we'll go back.
Let's go for it. I don't care.
Okay. So tangent about God. So one of the problems, and I've discussed this recently with I can't remember who it was Adia. I think I was talking about. No, Shelly Sean, about how like when you cast at higher levels of amateur for a while as a caster, it actually warps your casting because your audience is the wrong audience. Like when you cast at higher levels of amateur, you're casting for semi-pro players, coaches, people with like super high game knowledge, where it's like you said, a legendary or a godlike here means nothing to them. It's like, okay, great, right? The team has been doing their job. It's a Viego. He is the executioner here. He's meant to be the one picking up the kills. So this happening, perfectly normal. It's as expected. But when you consider that most of the viewership on most events, which aren't like PG or UPL or Risen Champions or something like that, is gold or plat, I feel like godlike is something that gets people excited. Like, yeah, if you sit down and think about it, it's not that big a deal. But when somebody gets it, they are godlike, right? Like that's why there are these terms like rampage. I can only think of godlike and legendary right now, but like they have these terms because it's like a hype term. So should we as casters be going with that sort of cheap hype in a way, like calling it's like the pentakill call, right? Like, sure, if you think about it, pentakill just is an ace and a pentakill are no different, really, when it comes down to it. It's just one's harder to get because it's all in one person. But like all those big Korean calls, like pentakill, right? Like it's kind of cheap when you think about it. But I also feel like, should we do that? Because even if it's a cheap call, it still works, right? Like that's what gets most gold, plat, silver, bronze, iron players hyped.
And I can agree, right? The words popping up and everything, but it's how you build on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not so much the actual act, it's why is it hype? How did it get to this point and everything? And again, it goes back, in my opinion, it's to, nutty bars. If nutty bars were, if the entire team were faltering, right? If this were the game where it's 19-4, 19-7 or something like that, everyone's dead, but nutty bars is freaking 7 kills deep and he is 7-0, right? Like, if he is godlike there, I'd be hyping that crap up like crazy, right? Because in and of itself, compared to the rest of the team and compared to the current game scope, it is ridiculously impressive. So and on this side, on the other side, you look down the scoreline, Mark Boots is 4-1. Blueberry is 4-0-10. 3-1-6 in the top side, right? Comparatively, even if we were to hype it up, yes, you might get some responses, but it would cheapen the value of it, right? Later on. And it might fall on deaf ears. Now, in regards to aces and pentakills, those are specifically hype moments that pertain directly to a fight, not the overall broad aspect of the game, I feel. Because a pentakill is a fancy way, like you said, of saying 5 deaths, right? Like, you got 5 kills. Same as an ace. You got 5 kills for your team. That's the caveat. However, it's the same thing. You get a pentakill as the enemy is storming your base and they walked into the fountain. You can yell pentakill, right? You can get that cheap hype moment, but it's still not going to have the same impact. Whereas if the pentakill came at Baron over a big Baron fight, they get Baron, they get all blah, blah, blah. That would be the hype moment to use it. So it's not so much cheap. There is nothing cheap about any of these moments, I think, right? It's all about how you utilize it. It is the flowers to the actual blossoming, or it's another piece of the puzzle that you are supposed to put together. For me, it's not about how I call it, but how you as a color caster are able to bring it to life. Like, what does the godlike mean? Does that mean Castle is miles ahead in level? Maybe. Does it mean that he is more, does he have a lot more gold? What does that mean for his itemization, right? What does that mean in the grand scope of things? For the pentakill, for the ace, what does that mean in the grand scope of things, right? We can call it, but how are you going to integrate it into the rest of the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got off on a tangent right there too, I think.
This entire thing's a tangent, like, which is,
Yeah, but I think the question is correct. Like, we should use every moment to our advantage, but how you utilize it, how you bring it up is so important. Like, and any point can be good, even and making fun of an O10 power spike on Yasuo, like, that is hilarious, right? That brings its own level of hilarity, right? It's all about how you bring up the point, why you bring it up, and what it resembles in the game. So, my hype moment, not really Castle going godlike. I expected it. Yes, it's hype, and you can hear it in my voice. He is godlike. It's not the star point of the show because right now all of them are stars. If he were godlike and the rest of his team were literally feeding kills into him, if he were like 7-0 and the entire team's kind of faltering or maybe a little bit looser and he's the one literally having to clean up, yes, godlike, biggest point of the game. He is godlike. He is running this gauntlet. Godlike, 19-4, 21 minutes in. I pray to God he's godlike, because if he's not, I don't know what he's been doing all game.
I mean, he could have just died recently.
True. Yes, that's true as well. But that's just kind of my theory behind it, right?
No, that's fair. Yeah,
it's a difference, and again, it all comes down, I guess, to how we portray the words and how we portray the values that we want to give or the information. So
yeah, no, and I think that's right. And a lot of, like, what I'm hoping to get out of these discussions isn't like a definitive answer. It's more just, the thought behind it. Like, what's your thought process? What are you thinking when you say some of these things, or how do you think we should be thinking about certain things more than anything else? So yeah, no, it's makes sense what you said there. Okay, so you're saying it also matters what the color does with it. I don't think I even talked about it after this.
I don't see, that's the thing, right? It doesn't have that much impact on the game.
Yeah.
I win. No, I don't know.
Castle is now godlike. He is going to be hungry for every single kill out there. He is so mad that he lost his Penta. This is absolutely going to be a Baron at 21 minutes. Oh, Mark Boots. Mark Boots actually, all right, that was disrespectful. That was 100% disrespectful.
Well, no, I think Harmony played that really well as well, and that's the glory of.
I didn't even give you a chance to talk about it. Now I feel bad.
Yeah, this is fine. No, I mean, there was another action. That's fine. Right?
Harmony bot side,
yeah, and it wasn't that important. You're right. Like,
and Poppy being chased out by Nominal.
Oh, wait, okay. I saw the tower go down. I was so excited. No, I got my hopes up. So sorry, everyone. That was just a tower going down with that rip. Surprisingly enough, they actually get multiple towers. So for the Baron,
that was one of my funnier blunders that I think I covered pretty well.
It's a very minor win, but a win nonetheless.
It was a very good heads-up play.
Please tell me I talked about Herald.
Took that second Herald in exchange.
There we go. Yes.
And I'm glad that they maximized the use of it. They got multiple turrets. They cracked Inhibitor first, and they funneled that gold towards 90 bars. They're trying desperately to get 90 bars online so you can dish it down.
Actually, really happy you talked about this right here, because like I didn't touch it at all, right? But that was their one gleaming chance at getting back in the game.
Yeah.
Is pushing and getting a little bit of gold, and you like flawlessly pointed it out.
Well, it's also because you set it up by saying that they took multiple turrets, which surprised you, right? And so that's why, like, if I didn't talk about Herald at the point, I'm trolling.
If there's ever a time for your composition to come online and you pull out the perfect wombo combo, this is it, right? I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference, so it's your best shot, right? Combo everything that you have, pray that you can get in there. The problem is they can't go for the dragon, so they are going to have to sacrifice this. They have to sacrifice Soul Point. It's already down. They're split. 4-1. Axum gets hooked directly in the middle. Cyclone doesn't really go off. Moonfall only catches one. You are willing to make that sacrifice shutdown by the affiliates, but the deaths are coming in thick and fast. Harmony goes into the golden stasis. That is the nominee on the top side of the screen, completely soloing out 4 members. He is going to chase down Nutty Bars, who has the red buff, and the concussive blows to stall away his death for a little bit longer, but that's just a flash play to dead. And Nominate slays Nutty Bars. 357 is going to fall. Nope, not before taking out the support in supportal combat. Jump right in. 2 dead, and they'll take it. Ace at 23.5 minutes as OG look to close out a very dominating game.
I ran on pretty hard there, actually.
Just fine. So I think different phases of the game.
Of the fight, right?
Yeah, well, it's just the timing of it, right? Like, I feel like you knew a fight was coming, and so you didn't want to hand over because it should have broken up sooner than that. You're right. Like, Wildcard took too long getting in there. They should have forced it sooner. So I think that's fine, at least from a caster point of view. And from a viewer's point of view, yeah, I didn't feel bad because it didn't feel like you were stalling, right? Like, your points were on point there. Like, it was relevant for the most part. what I was gonna say is that this is one of those fights where it's like, I feel the energy was good. If I'm not paying attention to what you're saying, it sounded really good. Then I'm paying attention to what you're saying, and it's like funny words, Magic Man. Talk on. Like it's just, it feels like you didn't actually talk much about what was happening. Oh, let's take this at 1x speed. Maybe I'm just not paying attention enough.
This is it, right? I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. So it's your best shot, right? Combo everything that you have. Pray that you can get in there. The problem is they can't go for the dragon, so they are going to have to sacrifice this. They have to sacrifice Soul Point.
Yeah, I think if there was... The problem is your point ends at they'll have to sacrifice the dragon. And at that point, the fight's already basically starting. So it's... I don't think you ran on. I think it's appropriate.
It's already down. They're split. They're split 4-1. Axum gets hooked directly in the middle. Cyclone doesn't really go off. Moonfall only catches 1. You are willing to make that sacrifice shutdown by the Aphelios, but the deaths are coming in thick and fast. Harmony goes into the golden stasis. That is the Nominal on the top side of the screen, completely soloing out 4 members. He is going to chase down Nutty Bars, who has the red buff, and the concussive blows to stall away his death for a little bit longer, but that's just a flash play to dead. And Nominate slays Nutty Bars. 357 is gonna fall. Nope, not before taking out.
It's that middle part when you're talking about the like after the Cyclone bit, it felt like that was just filler while waiting for Harmony to do something.
For the dragon, so they are going to have to sacrifice this. They have to sacrifice Soul Point. It's already down. They're split. They're split 4-1. Axum gets hooked directly in the middle. Cyclone doesn't really go off. Moonfall only catches 1. You are willing to make that sacrifice shutdown by the Aphelios, but the deaths are coming in thick and fast. Harmony goes into the golden stasis. That is the Nominal on the top side of the screen, completely.
Like it's like when you're just like, oh, okay, you know, it's a trade you're willing to make, and then you throw in the shutdown by Aphelios, and then you go back to Harmony going golden. But it's like, it doesn't actually say anything important because Nutty Bars getting the shutdown doesn't matter. They're gonna lose here if they lose this fight. They've already lost the fight, so they're
at this
gonna
point,
lose
I think I was just calling out what was going on the screen, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's my personal thing about it. I'd rather call out what's going on the screen, and then right here, because I felt this was the actual ending portion, right?
He's soloing out.
Whoops,
I think I don't. He's soloing how I'm 4 members. He is gonna chase down Nutty Bars.
That call though was terrible on my part, and nominate in the 4 members. There was nothing there.
Longer, but that's just a flash play to dead.
Yeah,
the wording though
true,
that I chose at that point, I do agree with.
Not before taking out the support.
Thick and fast doesn't really sit well. I want to say.
2 dead, and they'll take it. Ace at 23.5 minutes.
But it's like
OG. Look to close out a very dominating game.
I definitely know what you're talking about, and I know what you're calling there, and it's just like, I don't know, it's rough, right? Because to me the fight isn't over, but to others I know they've written the fight off, because at no point should OG ever win this or lose this fight. They shouldn't. That's the whole point of this.
Yeah.
But hyping up the fight the entire time is what I was possibly going for.
They're split 4-1. Axum gets hooked directly in the middle. Cyclone doesn't really go off. Moonfall only catches 1. You are willing to make that sacrifice shutdown.
I'm just trying to call out different things. It doesn't latch on well, I will say that, right? Moonfall into, I think I was... No, it is Moonfall. It's not Moonfall.
Yeah. Oh, it's Moonfall.
So it does make sense because Hobby was that. It does connect somewhat. It doesn't connect as well as I would like it to. Right.
I think it's just a change. Like, I think the Cyclone into Moonfall call was really good. Like, oh, the Cyclone doesn't quite complete. The Moonfall only catches 1. And so you're talking about these big ultimates, and then say like something about thick and hard, and something about
you know,
the
like deaths are coming in thick and fast because
that's
thick
how
and fast they fell.
Yeah, and it's like it's a sudden transition away from like the big out calls, and then the fact that Harmony goes golden, and again it just feels like. If anything, at this point, I think you could like have slid a joke in about Harmony, you know, being alive. I think you've got like 2 paths to go, like at that point, which would transition well. And one is either you go like, oh, Harmony, can he find anybody on the back end? He's going in 1v4, but you know, something like that about like hyping up Harmony, trying to pick up a kill. Can he get one more before he goes down? Or you go into like a joke, more like casual, jokey situation where like, well, Harmony's done and dusted. He's sitting in the middle of 4. They're just waiting for the stasses. You know, I've seen this video before. One girl, 4 guys, like, you know, something like that.
No.
Not necessarily that
But
specific.
I agree.
Yeah, like you can go for a more like fun approach there, or we pivot towards the fact that Inominat's still finishing up the fight in the back end.
Yeah, it was the energy and the pacing. I think were correct. It's the verbiage that threw everyone off, which I agree with.
Yeah, like the energy, like I said, you know, like if I'm not paying close attention, the energy is really, really good, right? And to be fair, like for myself, I don't know how true this is of other people, but like when there's a lot of action, sometimes I'm not actually paying attention to the actual words that play-by-play saying. It's more like the energy they give.
You're not supposed to. That's the thing. Is no. You are listening exactly as you should be, right? The casters are not there to tell you everything that's going on. Granted, yes, you should. There are some that should, but 9 times out of 10, you're watching the same stuff that's going on. You don't need that information fed to you again. That's not what you're paying attention to. You're feeling the energy from the casters. The casters are basically giving you cue cards. Am I supposed to be hype right now? Am I supposed to be down right now? Am I supposed to be upset that Wild are losing? Am I supposed to be happy that OG is winning? You know, what am I supposed to feel? And we do that with the language. So at that point, I think I knew this was going to be the last fight, right? Like that's what I felt. Last fight. So nothing I say matters. So it's hype the moment up. Whatever comes out of my mouth comes out, which I granted. Hype 9 out of 10. Wording about 2 out of 10.
It wasn't terrible.
I actually lost it, and I was scrambling because Harmony came in, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck Harmony's doing, right? Personally, I didn't, because at that time I just saw him like get rooted, chained, and then drop to like 200 like he is now.
Yeah.
But I hope people aren't like fully listening, right? Like, kind of. Because at that point, your attention should be drawn to the fact that the giant fight is over, kind of thing. Like, they are winning. 100%. Wording was terrible. Hard agree with you on that.
I don't think it's terrible. Like, I think your individual words were fine. It was more just like the switch from focus and the wording. But like I said, like honestly, when I was listening to it, if I wasn't VOD reviewing, I probably wouldn't even notice it, because I'm like, the energy is good. It is super hype. This is the game-winning fight. So you're right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I just thought since we're doing a VOD review, I'd just bring that up.
Yeah, because no matter what, you are very much correct. If anyone were to break down, they'd be like, he's like barely a C or D tier caster with this, because it sounds because yes, the hype's there, but the wording is all wrong, right? I'm calling out so many random things, it doesn't match, it doesn't change anything, and then I make a terrible call like 1v4 in the back. Who you see a 1v2? All you see, Daniel or Orbital, whatever. That's all you see, right? Like, very much correct. Like this.
I think you said it was he held it off.
That is phenomenal on the top side of the screen, completely soloing out 4 members.
Yeah.
He is going to take out Nutty who has the red
It's a weird one.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's just the timing of it.
Just a flash play.
He did solo 4 in the beginning.
Yes, but again, my moment had passed for that same as well.
Before taking out the support and supportal combat, jump
it should have been at a different time.
Dead, and they'll take it.
I agree with you, though. That wording did really feel awful. Now that I look back on it, the more I listen to it, the worse it feels, kind of thing, right? So it's like,
but again, it's in the heat of the moment, it's good, right?
Yeah.
Roughly, within 10K.
Heat of the moment is okay.
We're at 24. They're barely 10K apart. And
that's solid.
This is not safe for you, buddy. Heartbreaker is back up, and more importantly,
so this is actually the time where they don't actually finish, is what I realized, because the death timers are too low. And your segue out was actually really good, because it turned from.
We're at 24. They're more than 10K apart, and Axum, this is not safe for you, buddy. Heartbreaker is back up, and more importantly, Inominat is there. If he could 1v4 the rest of your team, he can definitely 1v2 your top side.
I think at this point, outside of Jiggity and Blueberry,
I didn't even transition.
It's the give, right? I think that was.
I feel like
I just didn't talk about it.
Castle's actually gonna give it a try. He's now stuck in the bush. Actually, Heartbreaker's out, and a jump away from that.
But like the
The reaction's still the same.
With blood in his eyes.
I mean,
but I like.
Oh my god.
Okay, forget it.
I like your verbiage, because I don't know if you realize it, but as you realize that they weren't actually going to be able to do too much, your language pace slowed down, right? You started dragging your words a bit, which emphasized that that section of the entire like scenario ended, right? And that's something that's what I was mentioning before. It's not so much like you have to shorten your words or like how many words you use. It's the language flow that you use. It's the language of do your words complement the slowing pace of the game? Do your words complement the fire that might be, burning right now or something like that, right? Because at the end, I don't know if you noticed, you went from really, really high tempo and a lot of words at once to describe Axum right there, and then you kind of like dip, drop back as the rest of the team started flooding out, and I was like, I really, really like that.
Yeah.
Like
Part of it
feels
was
right.
conscious. Part of it was just me trying to come down after the hype when I realized that they might not end. And then part of it was me just trying to drag it out and see whether or not they could kill Axum. Because if they kill Axum, I'm about to jump back up in hype. Because if they kill Axum, they can end. If they don't kill Axum, then yeah, they're all up. So it was like partially me also just hedging my bets when I slowed down.
And I like it. I mean, I liked it. It sounded great because it encompasses both of those scenarios. So.
Yeah, I guess because it's natural. I guess.
I don't think they're just going straight back into it.
And this, I don't know why we were hyping up, but it's fun.
Because this is game ending.
Oh, right. Because before we were talking about Mark Boots getting out of some of those situations.
Yeah, like it was okay. I'll back out of it because it was like Castle was super high.
Right here.
The OG squad could probably 1v3 or 1v4. I feel like they are that strong. They're that far ahead. It could get insane. Castle's actually going to give it a try. He's now stuck in the bush. Actually, Heartbreaker's out and he'll jump away from that Q. Javi was looking with blood in his eyes.
He's starting to hurt though.
Oh my god.
That was a single distortion, by the way. That was a single near distortion.
They haven't even recalled from their push. I don't think they're just going straight back into it.
Yeah, and that's why we're like, oh.
Yeah. Gets a little bit of a curtain call to end the show, as that will be a final
I like that call.
up. It was
the curtain call to end the show
because Harmony wanted nothing to do with that fight.
Hey, Harmony was pulling his own mini Nominat down bot side there. He was 1v3 and he almost killed some people. He almost found Marcus there. Almost doesn't count. And
just like this, it's such a snide remark, but it's so funny to me.
What? How is it snide?
It was because you were like did a really good Anomaly performance, and he almost killed someone. I was like, it's such a snide remark, but it's so true. Like it's so good.
Oh my god, that wasn't even meant to be snide. Like I legitimately meant it. Like I was unironically saying that. Like
I
Harmony...
know, but it's so snide, but it's so funny.
And I was like, almost. I meant like he was so close, but couldn't quite do.
Yeah, but it sounds so like. Tell me, it's true, right? It sounded so snide.
Oh no, okay, wait, hold on.
With that fight.
Hey, Harmony was pulling his own mini Nominat down bot side there. He was 1v3 and he almost killed some people. He almost found Marcus there. Just almost.
Yeah, I didn't even emphasize almost. I just
said you did.
Barely.
But it's so clear to me. It was so good.
Oh my god.
It was so back in base here.
I was like, yes, RMC, bring the flame.
Embrace the dark side.
Nothing, not even Flash could have saved him there. That is going to be the final ace.
See, I like how I was able.
Yeah.
My one happy moment is I tied in the fact that he didn't have Flash because I was railing on that fact for so long. I don't care.
No, I like that. You bring it back to an old point, right? Like it's
because we've spent the last couple
throwback
of watching mAAdcity Wildcard, and we've not seen them lose quite this badly in recent weeks here. They are a strong team, and granted, we talked about it in draft. They took a somewhat risky approach with full scale.
Am I moving way too much, or is it just 125 speed? Hold on.
To 30 kills.
No, I actually see you do move quite a bit. And it's I think it comes from a habit of just standing in general. When people stand, we don't really think about how we move because that's not the main focus, right? But on air, we notice it a lot more.
Yeah.
It's something that I've actually learned as well because I was rewatching one of the Kansas City gig, right? And I moved so much, man. Like I was shifting positions. I was walking around. It was so bad. And I was like, I have to stand still. So that's when I told myself like, the main reason I move a lot is because I'm standing on my feet the entire time and it hurts. So it's like, I probably have to start standing on a pillow most of the time to like stand comfortably in the same spot for so long.
Please don't go anywhere. The Civil War will continue after this.
Yeah, and yeah, I should probably cut back a little bit. I mean, I do think moving is not a bad thing, but I was like bouncing everywhere there. At least I kept in frame for most of it. That's
But I think it matches the energy, right? That ending was actually pretty hype. It wasn't like, oh, okay, they finally won. It was a pretty hype ending. And so the bouncing around makes sense, I think. Because generally, like when I watch, Worlds or all the other broadcasts, it's like if the casters are standing, they're bouncing around. They're so excited from what they saw, and it's the analysts that are sitting still, right? The analysts are the ones that are just kind of prepped there. So I think moving around is fine because it also didn't bother the audio quality, right? It didn't mess with your audio quality. That's when moving causes a problem. When you are dipping in and out of the audio source, and it's hard to hear you. You kept it straight laced the entire time, so I think that was fine.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So after almost 2 hours of VOD review here, Orbital.
of a 25-minute game, I might add.
Pretty much, yeah. We stretched it out 4 times. My notes, I like our intro. I think our intro going in is really good, especially like D0Mcasts was saying, the fact that it is the finals and we had more information. We could properly prep the teams that played each other before, their sister teams, a lot of juicy narratives. I think we handled the intro really well. I like our outro after the game. It's nice, it's short. We're not lingering on too long, and we're not breaking too deep into analysis because I think that's better saved for pre-game than it is for post-game. And within the game itself, a lot of little things. I know that you came into this saying that one of the things that you were looking at was your team fighting calls recently. I would say I think your team fighting calls are pretty solid. I'd give it a 7-8 out of 10 for the most part across that game.
We didn't get to game 2 and 3.
No, we did not, and we are not going to do that tonight because you still got to cast and I got to grab dinner after this. So, yeah, but at least in game 1, I thought your game calls were solid. Like for the most part, like I said, sure, some of the verbiage, some of the words used, some of the energy spikes. I mean, you had justifications with them, so I think that was really solid. And I think just the general hype though was really, really good. Your timing for the fights was really solid as well. If anything, I was the one trolling timing for fights. And then in terms of just like the biggest thing, I think the biggest takeaway that we kind of talked about in terms of the play-by-play casting was maybe just what you're saying and the timing of it, like not dragging on too long, trying to either hold on for a fight or just sometimes chaining the points, like the early game merch treads discussion thing. Yeah, but other than that, I thought it was really, really solid on your part.
Yeah, thank you. Taking a look as well, it's just like I'm realizing a lot more of it, as well as the fact that if I don't pass properly, or like the more times I don't give, it feels like you have to compensate for it, and it's something that I really dislike about my own casting now, right? And so like VOD reviewing that was really important to see that. Only thing that I could see on the other side, right? For you is the fact that only thing would be like chaining together the points, right? Like that's the main thing that I could harp on, which isn't even that bad, right? Just link one together and that's about it. Your team fight calls afterwards, I think, were pretty solid too. So I think it was good. Oh, excuse me.
I have chaining points pretty loaded. I've got, well, I guess because also I'm taking notes for myself. I've got like a bunch of notes for myself. But like I think one of the biggest ones for me was paying attention. Like the fact that I'm missing some of those starts of those, like missing the setup for a fight to me is already bad enough as a color, because I spend, I think, almost as much time looking at the mini map as I do the actual main map to watch for setups. So that this particular game, I missed most of the setup, which is pretty bad on my part. But like literally missing the start of fights was terrible. Like that is, I think my biggest takeaway from this was I don't know why I was distracted. I don't know if it's directed cam trolling me, because maybe one of that was directed cam, but surely not like all 3 times it happened. So yeah, that's my biggest
we
thing.
were getting into the cast too. That's something that I notice is when I get into a broadcast, if I'm talking, especially when I'm casting with you, it's like I kind of just fall into like it's a friendly discussion, it's a banter, right? And I forget to actually focus on like what you're saying and stuff, which sounds bad, but it's like you lose focus if you feel a little bit more free, right? Or like it's not as professional or something like that, which is a terrible way to see it. But I think it's true. So maybe it's just like kind of keep track of it, right? But if you're kind of stalling out, it's 2 things. Either you're hella bored of me and you didn't like the game and so you just like zoned out.
Which wasn't the case.
You were enjoying it so much that you were almost just like a viewer yourself, which I think is really cool. So,
yeah, I mean,
I think those are the 2 kind of ways to see kind of zoning out.
It's a nice thought, but as casters, unfortunately, like the technical aspect,
yeah,
right?
we
can't
have
afford
to be a little bit more analytical.
Yeah, so I think definitely the focus there, and then I think the second biggest thing for me coming out of that, like I said, I've got a whole bunch of notes, but The second biggest one takeaway from that one for me was about choices. What do we talk about when, right? Like we talked about the fact that that turret take, because we didn't talk about that turret take, it had to go much further down the road. That was, I think, the biggest one. But a couple of others, like, when we're seeing Castle invade, right? Like, I think I, could kind of tell that we should probably be talking about that. But I made the decision to go off what you were saying instead of just directly transitioning to that. Early game, I didn't talk about it as much because we were kind of talking over it. But the Ghost conversation, I think the Ghost conversation was fine, but we harped on it too long. And I needed to talk about jungle paddling because that mattered. It didn't pay off at the end of the day, but there was actually some risk of dives and fights, especially like we saw the early top lane fight, the one where I was saying, oh, we should have talked about the potential kill pressure because that also set up for junglers to come in and potentially kill anybody who stayed in lane. And we didn't touch on that. So decision making, I think on my part, that game a little bit lacking. And part of this is, I think, is also coming off me casting more PG games recently, where decision making on what to say matters more because everything they do actually has a purpose and a plan. And in this game, like I said, the potential was there. I don't know if they planned it, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can agree with that. We'll keep improving. We'll keep improving.
Yeah. Well, good VOD review. And like I said, Nick's VOD review, I think I'm getting
we'll finally get game 2. Oh.
No, I think I asked DJ and Grapes on for next week. I can't remember who I talked to. No, 4x4 and Grapes for next week. But
all right. We talked for so long.
Yeah, we did. This is like as long as a cast, and you actually.
It really was. It really was.
Yeah, and you actually still have to cast.
Listen, I'm the Iron Man. Everyone knows that. All right. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, peace out, man. Good talking to you. Okay, and yeah, that's kind of it for today. We definitely ran way longer than I probably would have liked there, but yeah, good time. Thanks to Orbital, thanks to D0Mcasts for coming by, and hey, drop them a follow here. Great guys, both of them there, doing a lot for the scene as well. Orbital is at Orbital_casting. Dom is at D0Mcasts, and for Dom it's D0Mcasts. So yeah. Drop them a follow and drop me a follow too if you aren't already following me. Thanks. Appreciate it and peace out.